Right, this is Summoning Insight, the second one for Worlds in 2024, because obviously we did the one before Plains where we had all the people talking about the minor regions, or people who were just like, casting the major regions who aren't allowed to appear on the Riot broadcast because we live in some sort of nightmare. So we had the Plains. One thing I want to say is this. I know one thing we need to do on this episode, Monty, that we didn't do, we didn't think about before. We need to set the table. Are there candidates for the Dade Award? We haven't talked about it. Yeah, we should figure it out. Are there some people who could win the Dade Award this year? Who would our main names be? I think that's a good angle.
Well, I think what, so first off, let's set the stakes, guys. So usually, because people misunderstand the Dade Award every time.
Every year, it's the worst player or whatever. That's all not the case. Go on, explain it, Monty.
Right. So basically, it has to be a really hyped player coming into the World Championship.
In theory, by us as well, not just fans. It should be like the experts say this guy's going to be like. Famous examples would be Dade himself. He was like supposed to be like the second best player in the world or something. Like some insane carry, wasn't he?
Right. So, basically it has to be a really hype player. And usually it can't just be like, it's not going to be Chovy when Chovy fucking makes semifinals and doesn't make finals, guys. Like the whole point of Dade was that Dade famously on MVP Ozone crashed out of the group stage, guys. Like he was really quite terrible.
Behind two European teams. So that tells you everything.
Yeah, exactly. So, you do have to have some criteria. Typically, it's not making it out of groups. So it's a really hype player who really under-delivers and typically causes that team not to make it actually out of the group stage. Now, what this means is that a theoretical player and previous Dade Award winner and also World Finals MVP, Tian, might be in there. Because he is like kind of an infamous choker at the international level at times. He's also have been very good, like when FPX won Worlds. But Tian is coming off of a regular summer season MVP of the LPL. So I would say probably like based on past performances, he's probably one of the leading candidates. Peanut might be another one, though. It is hard to believe that these teams wouldn't actually make it out of the Swiss stage because Thorin, one thing about the Swiss stage is, well, like there might be some. One of the issues with the Swiss stage is that there might be some teams towards the bottom of the heap that might struggle, if you know what I mean. Like, it's usually pretty clear that the top teams are going to make it out of Swiss. It is very difficult for top teams not to make it out of Swiss. So you might have to pick somebody who is potentially on like a lower tier team. But I don't know if like all of those players would necessarily be. I
still think you can get out of groups if like you're on a sauce one, like you say, like you get a normal Swiss draw and you just play badly and then you play badly in the quarters as well. I think you could still do that too if you were a mega hyped player,
Yeah. So anyway, like I think there are scenarios like this that definitely exist for some of these teams and some of these players. Tian might be one up there. Aiming might be one.
I think that's a good one. Remember, for me, he was the MVP. So if he fails, I'll give you another good one that people aren't talking about because for some reason, Monty, no, because I don't think anyone hypes him to that degree, mate. Like, that's the problem. So remember, it doesn't fill the initial criteria. The problem is there are players where people only talk about the upside. So I'm going to give you the one right now that I think is the most obvious one. If they were somehow to flop the group stage, that would be the one that will fail. It is on the support of Billy Gaming. Because that guy, he has the game to ink the fuck out of it, mate. Everyone loves it when he makes those sick engages and a crazy play. But I'll tell you what, he does a Hillsang. He goes for those angles that aren't there too. You know what? He just sees ghosts. He's like, those famous ones where the joke is like the quarterback was seeing ghosts because he's just all over the place and like trying to dodge all the edge rushers. He does that, mate. So if somehow Billy Gaming fucks up this world, he's going to be the reason why. There you go. There's one hater angle for you.
I mean, if Billy doesn't make out of groups, that would be one of the biggest shock or Swiss stage. It'd be one of the biggest upsets, like shocking downfalls. I think
you're over focusing on the Swiss thing. What if he just plays absolutely shit and hits it, but they make it by virtue of having better players elsewhere and they just get to the quarters? I think that's totally fine. I think it's individual play for this for me. It's not your placing. I think the placing part's over indexing.
All right. Fair enough.
I agree. Like, obviously, it is stupid when they do what you're saying, where they take like Scout, who's totally fine in the Swiss, then goes to the quarters and just doesn't win, and they go, "He's bloody Dade." It's like, that's not vaguely Dade. You know what? That is true. That goes too far. There's got to be some others, though. I'm trying to think who else could maybe do this.
I look, Tarzan did play really well in summer, so it could be another Tarzan angle, I would say. Aiming's a really good candidate. On LNG, it could be Scout, because I don't even know how much he's practiced, given the fact that he had to buy his way out of China effectively. Like, Scout could be very disappointing. The most delicious one, Thorin, would actually be Faker.
Here's the funny thing. That would be a brilliant one, because for us, it wouldn't necessarily count. Like, we wouldn't have put him as like hyped, right? But I would say that would be like a community Dade Award. Like, the fans all say he's good. I've got a similar one, and this is going to really hurt people's feelings. But if you just think it through, I think it's plausible. I'm actually going to say Impact, Monty. He was the MVP of the LCS. What if he just has a bad tournament? Remember, TL could flop on like the 2-2 game or something. By the way, I'll point this out just for the cool people. I know dickheads ignore this anyway. I'm obviously not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying if it did. Obviously, I'm not predicting it, am I? I think that's one that could happen too. Because remember, he's at his most hyped right now ever individually. This guy's always been like a role player. He's the actual MVP of the LCS, guys. So if he was to fail,
Caps might be another one.
Caps is another one, remember? Caps is another player like, there's no downside to this player if you're Western for some reason. You just never apparently ever saw him play a bad game. Give me a break. Because one thing I can't handle is when people do those power rankings of players and they're telling me that like these sick, cracked out LPL mid laners aren't as good as Caps because they watched Caps beat up on Mad Lions mid laner. The joke is, I'm not going to reference his name there, fucking Humanoid and Nuke. Yeah, spoiler, I'm pretty sure Cream would dust some of these motherfuckers off too, boys. What are we talking about? Like, what are we even having a conversation about now? You're just living in 2019, boys. So that Caps will definitely be one, mate. Definitely.
So I for me, those are like the Dade Award, like players on alerts.
Oh, maybe Razork could. I have him as a very hyped player. He's a good, that could be up there too. Inspired. I don't know if people. I think he's world class. I think Inspired could do it. Look, by the way, the point here is just to set up the table in case they do it, guys. It's like when we said, "What if KT Rolster beats T1 and Gen G and then ruins the perfect split?" We didn't actually think it was going to happen, did we? There's no way you could even think it was going to happen, but it did happen, though, didn't it? It did happen, though. It did. Oh, do you know what's crazy, Monty? This is hilarious. I've just realized we've actually missed. How have we missed this? Bro, this is where you have to ride the stock market of opinions, Monty. Because even we say this guy's really good now. Do you know what the most glorious one would be? Zika from Hanwha Life Esports. Technically, he's world class now, right, Monty? If he was to fail with one of the favourites for the tournament, that would be glorious. That would almost be payback for fucking if ruining the Gen G Golden Road for the 2022
If Zeka fails in an Akali Yone meta, it would be actually crazy, because you would definitely not expect Zeka to play badly at this tournament.
Right in the opener,
the looks that we've seen from mid lane champions.
How about this angle? Opening map, we're more on the mage meta now. Maple's playing, and Maple's a fucking bazillion Orianna games. Like, there's a fucking angle for you right there, my dude, in the draft. There you go. That's the open. You start out by losing to a minor region team. Because, by the way, Monty, as you saw, we'll get to it later with 100 Thieves. I've always said, I understand minor and major isn't actually about the strength of the region. It's about like how much sort of focus you put on it and how much, whether it has like its own broadcast and its own finances and franchise and stuff. But it has actually always been offensive to me that the LCS got to stay a major region. Then PCS was like, LMS, you don't exist anymore. You go and play in PCS, you're minor region now. Because as you see, mate, their results aren't minor region. They're doing this every time. Like, what the fuck is this?
On that note, Thorin, I do think it's funny how everybody complained who's an LCS fan about the Americas, saying, oh no, one of our seeds got stolen. Because remember, the way that the Americas region is going to be working next year is that the Southern Conference, which has 0 of the current LCS teams, no matter how they place in the combined like season ending tournament, it's the highest seed from the Southern Conference. Like, the top finishing team does go to Worlds. So effectively, LCS got one of their seeds yoinked, and possibly 2. So basically, one team from the Northern Conference and one team from the Southern Conference has to go to Worlds. And then the third one is basically just the highest, finishing team between the two conferences as the Northern and Southern Conference like combined for playoffs. So it could be 2 Brazilian teams. It could be an American team, like an LCS team, and 2 Latin American teams, because there's a Latin American team in each one. But the point is like, basically, actually, you know what, Thorin? It could be 2 Latin American teams and a Brazilian team, because the Latin American team's in the Northern Conference as well. So there could be 0 LCS teams. But basically, like, the argument is that one of the slots that was guaranteed to be an LCS team is no longer there. However, at this event, we've actually seen that direct head-to-head matchup
funny,
between
Monty?
LLA and LCS, and
spoiler,
LLA won.
I don't watch LLA, but you know what I do know, Monty? I know the career of a player called Summit, who plays for Rainbow R7. And I know that he is, if you watch him, his eye test, he is a very mechanically strong player, mate, who knows how to carry from top laner. So I literally did bet and won that bet, Monty, as a massive, it was like 5.8 odds, mate, because I just thought, wait a minute, it is Summit laning into a 17-year-old, like Canadian rookie. I think I'm going to take that all day long. And you know what? I had the cash out of the century, mate. It was glorious. It was glorious. And later, because I'm on my full hater arc, I did also take PSG to beat 100 Thieves. So you know what? I just fucking down with NA, down with 100 Czech Steelers. Exactly. Get the fuck out. And you know what, Monty? I tell you what, that has also aged well. You know, when I said on that episode last time, I saw all the dickheads in the chat, when I made that joke that, like, bro, Quid isn't even the best player in the LCS with the letters Q, U, vowel and D, and they all went, no, that's not true. Quad's not better, he just has a better team. It's like, well, how you like them apples? How's your MVP today, dickhead? Exactly. How'd you like them? Oh, washed up old fucking Maple. Give me a break, mate. By the way, there's another thing. What a glorious career Maples had. Sadly, he was on TSM that worthless year when they had no fucking money and they put no effort in whatsoever. Didn't even have a famous coach or anything. But like, what longevity this guy, bro, he's still carrying games to this day in like against major regions. It's like 10 years later. This guy's mental.
He's had a great career.
Yeah. Apparently he's going to retire after Worlds as well.
Oh, really?
He said it on social media or something like this last year, I think.
I mean, seems like you might as well go out on top, make Swiss one more time as PSG. Remember, he's been part of those famous
he did it in MSI as well. He also got past FlyQuest there, so he's having a sick last year if he wants to do the upsets, yeah.
Yeah, of course. And remember, he was part of all those rosters that were successfully upsetting Korean teams back in the day. So, I mean, really excellent player, excellent career. And, it's nice to see him go out on top because, frankly, I would rather see Maple than fucking anybody from 100 Thieves in the actual Swiss stage event. So it all worked out for me, the viewer.
Obviously, the real meme of it all. This is why it's almost a shame that actually Summit didn't make it as well. Imagine if 100 Thieves, the team that beat C9, made the main event, and Summit made it, who left them when it was the other time. Because I'll tell you what angle, Monty. This is where we're going to veer into joining the LCS drama / React Andy level content. But that is just what modern viewers want. I will say one angle, even though I love him like a younger brother, I do think LS is fucking wiling when he implies, are you ready? He actually implies that because fans said to get Reapered, for example, as coach instead of Mithy, right? First of all, we all imply that Mithy was just God, apparently. I missed the fact. I'll point this out. Mithy just got a couple of championships and lost the majority of them. And actually, it was fine. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't necessarily what Cloud9 what they wanted to have massive success. And then the worst one he does, the worst one, I've got to say it, Monty, is he actually tries to imply that this is mental, because I can't even comprehend if you do the 1-for-1 for who he's replacing. He actually tries to imply that fans wanting Fudge fired is in some way why Cloud9 isn't Worlds. I can't even get it, mate. One, he's not the shot call. He's just a bad top laner. And two, Thanatos is way better. And spoiler, next year, I'll just say it right now, Thanatos could be an MVP of the LCS, mate. That guy has real hands. That is such a... Look, I know he's your mate, but you are wiling with that take, my dude. That is... it was the lack of Fudge. That's the problem that stopped him from Worlds, of course. No... That's like saying, if I clean up a bunch of sick off myself, but then shit my pants. If I'd have kept the sick on myself, I wouldn't have shit my pants. What's the connection, bro? It's all just shit and sick, innit? They're both trash, doesn't make any sense. What does that mean?
I mean, also, it wasn't going to actually fix Cloud9's problems or JoJo, not caring and not even, as we know now, we discussed this on the last episode, showing up late to these scrims and everything like that, or whatever the fuck was going on there, the lack of leadership, the lack of coaches within the roster because they severely shrank the size of their coaching staff. Yeah, it's been a whole thing. And
assuming Fudge didn't literally just sit there in the morning and count down to when Toja had to be there and go do 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 do, and then he would arrive just on time because Fudge did that cool theme tune, which by the way probably just we're on Twitch to be fair. On YouTube maybe that actually might even be copyright striking. I've just done that. I didn't do enough of it and I did it in a scoffed up British way where I half remembered it, so I'm probably okay. But I just don't buy it, man. Like, this is why I can't understand what you're doing with that topic, Monty. It's okay as a take. It's not totally terrible, but you are sort of like taking them at their zenith and pretending like they were at their best at the end. Like, they were in bad shape at the end too, boys. Remember, they were losing championships to NRG, like a team that's nobody's. Were you ready, Monty? Bloody sold after they bought CLG. Please stop doing that. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. They're always going to say that NRG doesn't, they're counter logic because they bought CLG for money and everything. And then they just left the league getting more money than they spent. But let's again, I won't get straight. Four Horsemen. Watch the Four Horsemen if you want to know about that topic.
Yeah, and you guys, with the last episode of Four Horsemen, we do discuss like the LCS teams leaving and everything like that. So it's something you can check out as well. Danon, actually, our guest who used to be the GM of Cloud9 and the Golden Guardians, had a bunch of behind the scenes info about that energy stuff as well. So we do a pretty deep dive there if you are curious about that.
What do you think, though, of 100 Thieves losing, Monty? Like, this is up there with Mad Lions shit in the bed, etc. Like, except at least one of the Mad Lions ones was doing.
I mean, they regressed to the mean. They regressed to the mean. I was 100 Thieves' #1 fucking hater this split. I mean, I thought they were fucking terrible the entire time. And it was honestly like, they did overperform in the way that NRG, I guess, overperformed at Worlds versus G2 last year, where I'm not going to take away the actual good games that they had, particularly against Cloud9. I think it's funny to talk about Cloud9 and make memes about Cloud9 and say like, oh, you know, well, if 100 Thieves is losing to R7, the LLA team, how bad must Cloud9 be? But I think it's legitimately fair to say that that they had a pretty good playoffs, 100 Thieves. But that being said, that was not their normal level of play that we saw throughout most of the summer split. And also, like, it was kind of a weirdly cohesive team game from Sniper. And like, the thing about Sniper is we get to see some good team fighting from him. We get to see some good laning from him again, but his TPs are terrible. They're so bad, guys. They're so bad. I mean, if we're actually just looking at the overall performance of 100 Thieves, I don't know how you could possibly ignore some of their like macro and team plays that they were making. It was outrageous. It was outrageous. Like the first game that they played against PSG Talon, you know, on their elimination game, like Sniper it's a lane swap game, right? And Sniper is actually just like heading into he like TPs for a top lane catch, you know, a top wave catch. After diving the bottom turret, but he's like at 50% HP. He doesn't actually recall first because he's trying to get his TP off to catch the wave, but there's only like a couple minions left at the wave. So then he's just chunked down to 50% HP, doesn't get a buy-in, and then he just gets bullied off the tower by Betty on Jhin. So then he has to recall, and then this causes him to basically, it starts a chain reaction that actually sets him very far behind in terms of CS to Ozzy in the top lane. And like, you can't have that happen, right? And then we also see TP mistakes coming in from Tomo, so they're not catching side waves. I mean, they were comprehensively schooled by PSG Talon.
Well, that's because, Monty, they played against a team which even has some international experience in the bot lane and actually plays at a good level, like they're champions of their region. Whereas you have to understand, Monty, that's a challenger bot lane. That's just an NACL bot lane playing against them. Like, you can't expect, you know, young up and coming. It's like college kids playing against pros, you know. Because, by the way, that's the one area I don't feel sorry at all. Maybe I feel a tiny bit sorry for Quid. Maybe on a better team he could have done more. You know, like, there's a few players I don't think are bad. But I'll tell you what, I don't feel bad at all about Ayla. Just fuck off, mate. I'm sorry. I'm just a dedicated hater. I just don't know what the upside is. I don't know what he must make the best pancakes of all time. Amazing foot rub. I don't know what it is, bro. It ain't anything to do with League of Legends, I'll tell you that. I don't get it.
He did play better in the LCS playoffs, but then we get games like his Rel game where, you know, it's an elimination game and he's just flashing backwards and dying in lane, so he loses flash, dies in lane. He's literally in team fights on Rel where he misses every ability. And then they lose a fight around, you know, either Herald or Grubs. Like 100 Thieves is basically just getting sucked into these absolutely awful fights when they're either late on the TP, they don't have priority. Like they played fucking pathetically. Like it was
bad,
man.
Monty, there's actually one I might feature in like a future video because I don't think Dom will ever copyright strike me. I don't think you can actually if it's fair use. There's a comment on, did you see like Dom did a rant right on his stream that someone made a clip out? It's like a 40-minute rant when they lose to the first one when 100 Thieves loses initially, right? He does this crazy rant about how they like the macro shit, right? And someone puts at the top comment, right? This is genius. The top comment's a timestamp and it just says something like, what they thought in what the South thought in the Korean War, and if you click that link, that moment of the timestamp, it just starts like, we're giving Seoul. We're giving Seoul. We're not giving Seoul. We're never giving Seoul. If there's anything we're not doing, it's giving Seoul. And like this actual whoever put that timestamp, props. That was actually a chef's kiss. That was straight fire. Whoever figured out that context alone, that's actually insane. That's pretty good, mate. Because if you don't know, by the way, guys, in the Korean War, it wasn't just where that line is. Now it went up and down. And in fact, actually, at one point,
it went all the way down to Busan.
Yeah, it got really disturbing, actually. And then it went back up again. Yeah.
It was a mess.
Straight fire. Yeah. Obviously, not the Korean War. Look, technically that was fire, but from weapons. Obviously, the joke, the contextual joke was straight fire. I loved it. It was straight fire. And by the way, this is where people do that thing, Ronnie, because they do this to me on my stream when I do the petty grievances. They go, "Little bro is losing his mind over a joke." It's like a pantomime, you idiots. We're performing. We're entertainers. Spoiler, are you ready? I'm going to blow your minds. Do you know, Monty, when that comedian goes, "Hey, guys, I just flew in and boy, are my arms tired." One, he didn't just fly in. He might even live in the area. That's a pre-planned joke. And two, he also didn't use his arms to fly. That's actually being sort of fucking, what is that? That's like being figurative or facetious. Like, bro, why are we doing this thing? Oh, he's losing his mind. Bro, we watch I Will Dominate to lose his mind. I don't want to see I Will Dominate C-SPAN mode, Monty. Like, well, in the end, the macro play in North America, the understanding hasn't quite caught up to the metagame that you have in other regions, including even the PCS, where experienced veterans will understand whether to trade soul or not. No one would watch that. No one would watch that. You don't watch I Will Dominate to watch him do really like quietly stated points without any jazz. That would be like saying you watch Double Lift for like really insightful, smart comments about himself and others. Like, you don't. That's not what it's for. This is a feature, not a bug, guys. Let's get on board, because I don't know about you. I love it when Dom goes mental over NA stuff. I love it when LS. I fucking, here's the thing. This is why it's hard to be friends with people, but also be a fan of theirs, Monty. Because as a friend, I want LS to have a happy life where he doesn't get annoyed or triggered by people. He doesn't get upset, you know. He doesn't feel like his work was worthless and no one listened to him or understood him. But I tell you what, I do low-key love it when the whole community tells him he's wrong about like some new item or champion. And I know he's going to mouth the fuck out on his stream and just bring in like, he'll start acting like it's the trial of the century and start drafting in like other witnesses to like cross-examine them and shit. Like, this guy was fourth on the Korean ladder. What does he think? I love it. It's actually like low-key. That's my favorite type of video. I don't want the one where he's having a great time going, "Hey guys, the patch has just come out. I think, you know, like this thing's going to get buffed on Smolder." That's not as fun for me. I do like the toxicity. That's what I watch for. These people versus meltdowns too. They're the best at
LS
meltdowns.
Versus the invisible prosecutor.
Yes.
That exists
Basically,
only in his mind.
Phoenix, whatever, attorney at law or whatever that thing is. Phoenix, what is it called? Phoenix something or other. What's that game called? The one where you're a lawyer. Phoenix what? What was the surname part? Ace Attorney. There you go. Phoenix Law, Ace Attorney or something. But okay.
Yeah, Ace Attorney.
There's a bit of that going on when they do
Phoenix
the fucking
Wright. Yeah.
By the way, I do the same thing. I do just break down like a Reddit comment by an idiot that was having his shit on the toilet and press send. I do break it down like they have, you know, submitted a political manifesto. It's like, here's why philosophically you're wrong. Here's the facts that show you're right. It's just, no, it's shit posting. I know. I get it. But I'm just good at pretending I don't for money on camera. And also secretly, I do get triggered sometimes as well. But I can pretend I'm not, because I'm an entertainer. It's all good.
Yeah, look, man, I have no idea what was up with 100 Thieves. Like, I didn't necessarily think that their meta read was so terrible either. But this was like embarrassing at basically every level. I mean, it was embarrassing at basically every level, and they got comprehensively outplayed by PSG talent. Aja,
as well, throw this in as well. If you're going to complain about LCS, here's why the Americas itself should also not be a major region. Because, bro, Pain Gaming made it out. What? What? Sorry, bro. Brazilians aren't even good at fucking Worlds. Even they made it out. Even they were clutching than fucking 100 Thieves, for God's sake. Like, holy moly, what are we doing now? Like, you're all complaining, like, oh, they're taking Worlds. Yes, bro. Some of these teams are better than like fucking Immortals and that. They're better than 100 Thieves, for fuck's sake. What are we talking about right now? Like, they actually have some game. You know what I mean?
I think if you look at PSG, all you guys have to do, like, you could ignore the rest of the 100 Thieves games, even though, like, the R7 loss was embarrassing. But if you want the 100 Thieves experience of this world in a nutshell, all you really have to do is watch the first couple, like the first two, or the only two games against PSG Talon, because even by the second game, they are actually just straight running it down. Because all of their problems are just encapsulated in one team fight that takes place around the Baron pit, where they try and engage, but Sniper isn't there, and Sniper TPs late into the fight after there's already been a complete flank of Aja on like Meganar, and then we see the Alistair from Woody coming in from behind. So they set up two long flanks with a pushed wave in top lane, and then Sniper just TPs super late. It's so funny. I mean, they get completely bodied within this team fight. Oh man, that was game one. Sorry, that was game one, not game two.
And as Don pointed out, by the way, even though we're in 2024, bro, they're still doing NA rams. They're still NA ramming in 2024. Like, bro, Riot literally made a thing. They were like, I always make the joke, it's Fisher Price macro. It's like, go to Dragon, go to Baron, go to Dragon, go to Herald, go to Grubs, go to, you know what I mean? Like, they just made the game obvious, and you're still like, oh, I could actually use my advantage and have a fight 5v5 mid. It's like, but why would you do that? Just where we fight, isn't it? The mid lane, isn't it? That's where we do our fighting. Basically, NA insists on taking inappropriate team fights mid, a bit like those people from the culture in Fast and the Furious insist on drag racing on actual public streets instead of, you know, like an actual like fucking racing track where it would be safe. That's my analogy. And also then they end up dying because some or other means family or so. I don't even know what the fucking... I didn't watch those movies. I only saw the first two. I stopped watching after that. I realised that, believe it or not, Monty, I'm a thinker. I realised after watching the first two Fast and the Furious movies, these are a little bit sort of iterative and reductive, and it's sort of the same thing, replayed over and over again, cynically, for money, and I've already seen the first two, so I don't think I'll watch anymore. But apparently people kept watching. Apparently they're still making them out there. Don't they make them now with, like, his fucking Force Ghost in them or whatever? I don't even know. Do they still make them? Fast and the Furious, do they? I don't know.
They just came out with, I think, the 11th one.
Jesus. By the way, how are they still getting away from the cops every time? How bad is the police in their universe, mate? You know what I mean?
Thorin, I've only ever seen one, and it was the third one, Tokyo Drift. That's the only one I've ever seen.
Isn't bad, actually, because that one sort of has a bit of swag, and you don't know what's setting up. But I can't even. But I bet that third one sounds shit too. Tokyo Drift already makes me out. I'm out just for the title.
It was bad. Anyway, so yeah, look, I don't know how you like recover from this. If anything, this should be the final nail in the coffin of anyone's argument about, you know, where the LCS should stand and whether they actually deserve 3 slots at Worlds, because after this, you can say comprehensively they don't. And on the other side, Thorin, we get the announcement. I don't know if you saw this, but Riot announced the Pacific Championship.
Oh, right. That she did it. Okay.
So
we were expecting some sort of like an APAC type thing, yeah.
Yeah, so they did actually announce I saw on Twitter the LoL Pacific Championship announcement, which is, by the way, guys, what's going to happen next year. And I do really like the change that they're making in terms of consolidating like the non-Korea, non-China, Asia regions. So basically PCS, like the Taiwanese league, the Vietnamese league, and the Japanese league are all feeding into an upper league, which is, by the way, guys, what they should do for all of League of Legends. The regional leagues should just be feeder leagues to the Super League at the top. But this is just the first stage of them realizing that. So they're basically going to keep the regional leagues intact, but there's going to be a promotion relegation system where they're actually going to be playing in the PCS or the Pacific series, and then only teams from the Pacific can attend international events. So basically you have to promote into the Pacific region, and then because it's non-franchise, so they can actually just give the guest slots based off of performance and totally do promotion relegation from there. And then, you know, from that point forward, you actually can get access, you know, to Worlds. or to MSI, or to the mysterious third tournament that they're going to be making sometime in February, right? Because every league's moving to
the
a
one with the famous
system.
draft or whatever they implied,
right?
Which was already a nightmare.
The thing that I find so funny about this, Thorin, is that we already knew this was going to happen, but Riot, like last week, put out an announcement about LCO, which is the Oceanic region, where it just said, we're stopping it and also wait for future announcements about what's going to happen, which obviously we know doesn't mean good things. But in the initial announcement, so when they started doing their roadmap for next year and describing the Americas and the Pacific thing, they said that the Oceanic region was going to feed into this Pacific region. And then in the latest announcement, Thorin, they don't mention Oceania at all. So they said in the first announcement, it's going to be Oceania alongside Vietnam, alongside Taiwan, and alongside Japan. Oceania is going to be involved in this. And now it's just those three, Japan, Taiwan, like PCS, LJL, and VCS are there. So God only knows
why.
I don't know. So you'll notice like they conveniently just deleted the Oceania. So for the Australians out there, sorry, maybe there isn't a plan. And also this new Pacific thing just said, again, like the Oceania ones, we're happy to announce this, but also we have no details to share with you at the present time. Now, why they do these announcements, I have no idea. By
the way, are you ready, Monty? I'll do that really annoying thing I do in the esports industry where I actually wasn't around for 5 minutes and I can remember things. So you know what I never understood, Monty? I never understood why ever OPL became like some significant thing where Riot had to do the broadcast and they had to build it out.
Of course.
Because here's what's insane, Monty, and you must know this. That was only ever like essentially like flaunting that you have money to burn. You were never bro, if you can't make the economics work in like fucking North America, you were never going to make it work in Australia. It's not even a country. Remember the famous detail, Monty? You can't even play on good ping from one side to the other because it's so massive.
Yeah, and there's only like 25 million people.
Yeah, and then so having them all in one city is going to be mental. Also, by the way, it's the ultimate place where it's like, why would I stay inside on a PC? I'll just go to the beach for fuck's sake. Like, it's so insane, the whole thing. I always thought it was such like a fucking, it was always living on borrowed time for me, that league, unfortunately, which is sad because obviously they got their hopes up, but it was never going to get to continue, was it?
I mean, it was just part of Riot's like global ambitions. Like we never had to have a Latin American league. We never had to have a Turkish league. We never had to ever had to have an Oceanic league. And what they're doing is they're consolidating all these things. And I appreciate it because it does streamline the path to Worlds, right? And it makes sure that we probably get a more interesting and more compelling Pacific League. Now that all of these regions are going to be combined, there's a higher chance that I would watch some of these games because I don't have to like drag through individual LJL games. I only get to see the best Japanese games against the best Taiwanese teams, against the best of Vietnamese teams, right? So I think it does raise the floor of these leagues and make some of the top matchups significantly more exciting. So I like what they're doing, but they also could have just started in this place. And if you guys don't believe that, look at Valorant now, because the Pacific region is all of those leagues with China and Korea together. It's Southeast Asia with China and Korea. So they already streamlined it. With Valorant, they didn't do the thing where we had a million different domestic leagues for fucking Turkey and Taiwan. But the only thing Riot has done has been slowly dissolving these over time, which is good. I agree with this strategy, but it's ridiculous to think that they were going to have a highly competitive Oceanic League, and they've just been chipping away at it over time. They started this process of chipping away at it when they allowed Oceanic players to be residents of North America, because that just ensured that any kind of even remote domestic talent in Australia or New Zealand was going to go straight over to the LCS, and then those players would be gone from the practice pool of that region. But I think this is also just, frankly, probably the end of Australian and New Zealand players, because now they have nowhere to like develop and compete, right? And so I know. We're all so disappointed.
To be fair, like FBI, I do think FBI is good. He's pretty good. But I'll tell you, I actually want to shout out, even though I don't normally read chat, I just happened to see it when you were talking there. Shout out to the person in the chat who did imply that like the reason they shut down Oceania is because they saw Ayla's performance. I actually just like haterism, guys. So as long as you do it well, that could have been a foreign joke. That's pretty good.
I know. We're all really disappointed that we're not going to get any more Destinies or Aylas.
Exactly. Holy fuck. Also, by the way, I'll just put it out there. No one ever made anything of this because, one, no one has any balls in League of Legends and people just aren't even smart enough to do this, Monty. Why did you not do something funny with having an Australian player on a team called 100 Thieves? I'm just saying. You even used to have FBI Pro. It's right there. It's right there. It's the theme is waiting for you to do something with it, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, but Riot has been just obviously like slowly degrading the domestic leagues over time. Like OPL used to be its own league, and then they like pawned it off and turned it into whatever LCO, and now they've just said it's not happening. But also we have nothing to tell you about what the possible future of this thing could be. And now it's just been deleted from the entire Pacific thing. And they said Oceania was going to be a part of this, and now Oceania is conspicuously missing from their Pacific announcement. So,
by the way, I had
definitely
a thing
rough there.
We're back into the React Andy content again. It's all good, right? I had something else I wanted to get your take on and respond to, because I saw a clip where another friend of the show, lovely Cadril, the guy, by the way, if you don't know, guys, even the people who hate on Cadril, there's only two reasons they hate on him. One, they take his persona on camera at face value. That's obviously absurdly exaggerated, by the way. Like he would never be like that in a convo or on my shows back in the day. He does that to go ridiculous because he knows what his fans like. And then two, the other angle is that he does sort of let like mad haterism happen on his sub, and his sub basically is like the second T1 sub at this point in time. But to be fair, that's all. Like we all know the Fnatic sub's full of absolute shite too, mate. There's some insane subs out there. So here's what I want to point out, right? Cadril was shocked because, to be fair, he's just a league guy. He doesn't follow the other games. He's probably just hearing from things like the esports awards whether or not, like, you know, some game's big or it's the game of the year and stuff, right? So he became shocked, Monty, when he looked up the numbers for viewingship for Planes of Worlds and saw that the only peak in Valorant for VCT Masters, their world championship, was the final. And anything, essentially, the highest viewership of Planes would have been over the second highest like peak for champions. And so he said, what? League isn't dying, boys. And it's like, oh, poor, sweet summer child Cadril. Take a seat and let us explain to you why League is dying for you and your context. That's the part you've missed, my dude. Because here's the problem. It's not that League's dying. You're right. You've identified that like Korean League of Legends is still massive, mega viewed. Chinese viewership isn't dying. You're right there. As long as viewership's carried by China and Korea, there'll always be insane viewership. By the way, way bigger than CS, Val, all these games, because League is a bigger game anyway. But what you're missing is this, Cadril. The number one money region and the flagship of Riot Games and Riot Global is the LCS, the NA one, and they're shutting the fucking league down because no one watches it, bro. Like, it's essentially a failed game in North America, which, remember, was until China came along with literal billionaires just playing money for nothing, was the money region in esports. It's still to this day the one where you can get the giant Puma sponsorship or some enormous, like, so the real problem is this. You're right, Cadril, but you don't speak Chinese as far as I know, mate. You are a Korean, so it's not good for you. You can't get on the life raft. Like, basically, LCS is going to die, and then that will probably, I mean, who knows if LEC will, that might be able to survive, but in the sense is that here's what they mean when they say it's dying, right, Monty? What they mean is people like Cloud9 think it's dying because it is for them. Like, as a game, it's having to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and for them, it is dying. So I know this is like what perspective you're from, but I can see how he got lost on that one. He is totally right, by the way. League will, like I say, it could easily just from China and Korea have viewership for 10 years, mate. It's such a massive game. You think about how like Dota did in China for all those years. You remember that famous stat where people were looking up like, wow, they still play Warcraft 3 in China? No, like 99% of the games were Dota All-Stars games that people were playing on like a fucking cafe or something. So he's right and he's wrong. It isn't dying. The viewership's still huge. But the part that we think of like TSM and the LCS, that's dead. That is dead and gone.
Well, I think like I said this when we discussed this on the last Summoning Insight episode, but I think the difference is that LCS just realized that they're chasing the viewed hours and like the average concurrent viewership is just dead. Right, it's just dead. It's clearly dead. It's gone down from like 300,000 for a regular season game, 400,000 to 70,000. 80. I think it was 82,000 average concurrence. That is obviously like a quarter of a third or what it has been in the past. But I think what Riot is realizing, and we can have a lot of questions about was this always true? Because it was, is that what really draws viewers now is the big international events. And I think they are correct to combine the Americas region.
That's so crazy if you think of the game I come from, Monty, because it's actually famous, as I've told you many times. You can make Katowice equally as good looking with equally as good teams. It'll never get the viewership of the major because it's just the big one they all watch, bro. They all watch when it says World Championship, that is what a pleb watches. And the reason why it should be obvious, Monty, is that's the Super Bowl, that's the World Cup. People who don't watch it normally watch for that one because that's the one we all watch. Surely everyone gets that. Surely that's not an alien concept, guys.
And I think a lot of fans who may have been hardcore fans in the past come back to watch Worlds.
They see it in the client and they go, "Oh, it's on, right? I'll it's TSM there or whatever."
I mean, they may not even be players anymore, but they're like, "Oh, Worlds is on. I see it on Twitch or whatever on YouTube." But I do think I think it's pretty much unquestionable that a Brazil versus North America matchup in the playoffs is going to smash the peak viewership of what we saw in LCS the last 2 years, right? Yeah. And so I think Riot is realizing, and they're gearing themselves more towards shorter domestic competition, more international events, and longer playoffs that are going to include the Northern and Southern Conference. I think it's probably the direction they're going to go with this, and it's totally logical because you're right. The problem with LCS and the problem with League of Legends is that it is on the downswing. This is not really an arguable point. That this is why we're seeing Riot, remove all these regions because they weren't generating viewership and viewership was declining. It's the reason why we're seeing the combination of LLA, LCS, and CB LOL. It's the reason why we're seeing the consolidation in Pacific. Now, it doesn't mean that there cannot be a healthy viewership, but they are trying to consolidate that viewership very aggressively so that it can create larger peaks again. And we are going to see that because the international events still do very well. I mean, MSI did very well this year. Worlds did extremely well last year.
On this topic, even though I don't like it, Monty, this somewhat justifies having play-ins. It's getting more viewership than like CS majors and shit, mate, and Valorant. Like, it just justifies it. You want these games to have the viewership. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
You want Brazilians to be at play-ins. It's actually important. You need it. Yeah.
Right. And it also justifies, guaranteeing the Brazilian and at least the Brazilian slash LLAC.
Makes perfect business sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I
think the part people are missing.
This is just Riot. This is Riot changing their strategy. And the disappointing thing is, like, we could have always had this strategy. And the truth is, guys, that this strategy would always have been more successful. Like, if you just do the thought experiment and you say, okay, well, in 2015, when CLG versus TSM was getting 400,000 viewers for a regular season game. Now, you still could have had that, by the way. You could have just had it in the 3-split system, and you could have had both those teams potentially going to more international events and dragging those fan bases to the international events with them, right? So we could have been doing this already. It was Riot who insisted that we have these like extremely long, extremely boring domestic splits, and we could have just traded that for more international games where, yes, those TSM viewers would have still watched those international
Which games. We all knew. This is the worst thing, Monty. The reason we all knew we wanted international tournaments is we all got hyped every time there was a bloody IM kind of as long as it wasn't the off-season one where you don't use the real rosters. If it was like the real mid-season, like when they'd have IM kind of like partway in the spring split, that was way more hype than a random week of LCS, mate. Everyone wanted to see that. You'd have some Koreans come over sometimes. You'd have NA versus EU. That was dope. That was like, it brought people out of their funk. But people have never cared about league formats in the same way, mate. Maybe they do in Korea and China. They don't in the West to me. I've told you tournaments is what we want to see. We want tournaments. I also think they'd be more successful with tournaments there, by the way.
Of course they would be, because frankly, before Riot introduced the league system, that wasn't what esports was. Like Brood War was not really. I mean, Pro League was sort of a league system.
That was the team league, though.
That was the team league, but most of the big hype StarCraft Brood War tournaments were OSL and MSL. And those were tournaments that were run multiple times a year. And League itself was designed in the shape of OSL, right? By OGN. And that's what people liked. And I think that if you asked people who watched back then and who watch now, most of them would say, I would rather go back to that 3 tournament a year system. I don't think anybody would be arguing for some more fucking double round robin between
Remember the thing,
Nongshim and Brion.
This is why no one gives a shit about LCK Challengers, Monty, or Academy. Because, bro, we used to have NLB. Imagine how dope it would be, guys, if like KT Roster, when they drop out of playoffs, goes and plays like D+, and then also plays the best Academy team or whatever, like that, or Challenger team. That would be sick. That's what NLB was. After Champions, we had another tournament for the teams that didn't make top 4. It was actually a fucking baller concept. And by the way, if you don't know, guys, SKT, the world champions, won that one time, and we're in that. And they were playing Frost. And yeah, we used to have amazing matchups. We just had more tournament play. We had more matches that had not the highest stakes, but some stakes. It was cool. I thought that was dope, mate. We even used to, if you don't know, have online tournaments between Korea and China, even where we'd have like cross play before we got to the matches. You know, the Stars Wars and all that shit. That was sick, wasn't it?
And I do think that the Latin American and Brazilian audience will show up, because PNG versus R7 was the most viewed match of play-ins, right? It was just to determine who went into the Swiss stage, had 1.4 million viewers. I presume many of those were Spanish or Portuguese speaking people. And, you know, I just think that those people will not care as much as the Brazilians got angry about the elimination of CBLOL. I'm pretty sure people are going to vote with their eyeballs, and we're going to see, you know, a Brazil versus LCS finals doing absolutely amazing viewership. And I think a lot of it will be Portuguese speaking fans, because I think it's just more compelling. I think it's just more compelling content. And they can say, well, we had our own thing with CBLOL and we liked it and it was ours, and we had fans even of the bad teams. All those fans of the teams that don't get into the new version of CBLOL, guess what's going to happen, guys? They're just going to watch a different Brazilian team. They're just going to become fans of a different Brazilian team. Maybe you lose like 10% of those people, but I don't think that people are just going to stop watching CBLOL because one of the less good teams or less exciting teams didn't get into the Southern Conference. So I think overall, like, I really approve of what Riot's doing. I think the viewership numbers, as you're pointing out, bear out these decisions. And I think it will be good in the long run for LCS, CBLOL, and LLA to be all together. And I don't think anybody disliked watching these series. Like, watching Under Thieves versus R7 was fun. It was fun. And like, I think a lot of these teams will remain, you know, a majority of their rosters of players from that region. And also, I think that just being in the Northern and Southern Conference will make those LLA teams better. By virtue of having better, you know, regular competition. And we already know that in the Americas, you know, after Split 1, we're going to see play between Brazil and North America. And after Split 3, we're going to see play between Brazil and North America, right? In the playoffs. So there should be a good amount of interaction as well. So this should be, I think, a good thing overall. I think it should be a very good thing overall.
I think it's so short-sighted. Like, here's what they're also missing. Okay, for your league, you might want it to be separate. I get that. You want it to be your thing and you think it succeeded. But you're also missing that, wouldn't you like to one day see, like, a Brazilian player playing the top 8 of Worlds? That's only possible, by the way, if that Brazilian player is so good, like Cloud9 signs him or something. Then it can happen. Then he could be playing next to some like cracked out Korean player, and he could actually do sort of run at Worlds. Like, you could also have an upside like that as well. You could actually have some of your players cross-pollinate. That could be fucking cool.
Yep.
By the way, I've purposely saved this topic because obviously we're going to get to it.
Boy.
We're going to get at some point to the main event draw, right? Because already, Monty,
yes,
you know what I point out about power rankings every time? The fact that everyone gets mad about them is a literal feature, not a bug, because it's to get attention. There are just 2 draws I already know you're malding at when you saw. There's 2 draws in that main event. Do we do it now? Do we wait a minute to save it?
All right. First up, though, we'll introduce our new sponsor to this show, guys, because that is going to be Turtle Beach. Ta-da!
Okay.
So Turtle Beach, thank you very much. They sent us over some headphones. There you go. The Stealth 600 Gen 3s. They actually just released the Stealth 700 Gen 3s, which are the model above these. And you might be wondering, well, why aren't you guys wearing these right now? Well, these are excellent headphones, by the way, and I have really enjoyed using them, and I'll get to how in a second. But we require side tone, which is basically the ability to hear our own voices during this. And the Stealth 700s are wireless headphones, so that makes it Very difficult. Unless you are a live streamer, you probably do not need this feature. And I don't need this feature whenever I'm not literally doing this show. In fact, I've been using these all day for the last couple of days because I prefer them because they are incredibly lightweight and they're wireless, which is super nice. So when I'm just working on my computer, I just pop these on. They're lighter weight than these headphones. And like the wireless feature is actually just really, really nice to have. They're super comfortable. They work on both Bluetooth.
If you've never used wireless before, here's the angle that's a positive over your PC. Now you can just put like this show on, put your headphones on and go and stack the dishwasher or something, or go in your garden or something. Yeah, you can do anything. So as long as you have the distance to the thing. By the way, if I put it on very quickly to do something, obviously for the moment I won't be able to hear you, Monty. So I will also say they're quite snug, actually. I think they're quite a nice fit. Like I was expecting some of the headphones feel a bit crappy. Really, yeah, it's actually quite. So watch, if you look, they even look dope because look how cool it is whether the mic is. I'll show you. So watch. It's like, look, it's already fitting. I've got a big head, by the way. You can imagine massive brain in there, working up banter, things to upset people. I've got a massive head, fits me quite nicely. Doesn't hurt my ears. I'm nicely inside, isolated, like you say. Then where's the mic? The mic is here. Watch. Hello, you've reached Skynet Services. What's that? Sending out a Terminator 1000 immediately to your location. If you see Sarah Connor or John Connor in the vicinity, please detain them. Thank you. Sorry, I'm getting another call now from my manager. Yeah, anyway, it's dope, isn't it? That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. So they work both off of the wireless transmitter from USB and on Bluetooth, and you can just easily toggle between them. I was actually using them as well to play some Apex Legends, and I can tell you that the frequencies that are boosted in this did help me hear footsteps and stuff like that too. So these are great. Also, guys, if you didn't know, Turtle Beach actually bought Rockcat. So you might remember the old Rockcat team. Rockcat was a peripheral company from Germany, and they make keyboards and mice. So you can buy mechanical keyboards, and like I really like the cone mouse that they made. So that's still available, like the wireless cone mouse. I really like the kind of ergonomic shape of that. So anyway, Turtle Beach, thank you very much. Love you guys. Been really enjoying these. They also work with your consoles, which is great. So Bluetooth on your phone.
Work with everything that pairs with Bluetooth, basically.
Yeah, or it just has a USB port. So Xbox, PS5. I was using it with my Switch. So yeah, it's been really great. Loving the Stealth 600s. You guys can check them out, and you guys can get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. For a limited time, head to turtlebeach.com and use code SUMMONING for 10% off your entire order. That's 10% off your order at turtlebeach.com with promo code SUMMONING. So thank you very much, Turtle Beach.
I don't know if you know this, and obviously everyone who buys the headsets and uses them and enjoys the products that we advertise on this channel, because we only pick out things that are good, right? I don't know if you know this, but I'm someone who used to get all the time when I used to read my Twitter replies, people being like, was that you in this game with the name Thorin? Like, see, and I've always said, bro, and in CSGO, when I was already famous, I've never played with the name Thorin. I have a famous alias that I even use that's to do with the type of hip hop music I like. People might know it in the chat. If they do, and then they're in the know. If they don't, then get to know. So I don't ever use the name Thorin, obviously. And obviously, I don't play other games. I don't even play games, for fuck's sake. So I definitely don't play other games with, like, I don't play World of Warcraft with the name Thorin, do I, right? But it's the fact that I can't even believe that this is real. You have to picture it in your mind, guys, right? Monty is sat there, actual gaming headset on. He's playing Apex Legends with the fucking Zoomer Gen Alpha on. And then when you're playing and you're thinking, well, that can't really be MonteCristo, he's just going like, oh man, what the fuck is that? What's the macro? What's the help? Where's the thing? Like, oh, I can't even believe that's real. That's actually going on. I love that. Some people out there don't know they're actually playing you, Monty. I love that.
So Thorin, I don't have the name MonteCristo on Apex Legends.
Okay.
And also, I do. First off, I when I'm in Korea, I play on the Japanese server, and.
I know what alias you should use. Like, let me suggest an alias to you, a funny alias. I think you should play it under the alias Doors Giant Gravitas. That's fire. That's straight fire. That's straight fire. There you go. That's a free one for you.
You know, sometimes when I'm playing video games, Thorin, I actually play under. So in the book, The Count of Monte Cristo, the Count himself, because obviously he's not a real Count and his name isn't MonteCristo, right? His name is Edmond Dantes, but he has other aliases besides the Count of MonteCristo that he uses. One of them being Lord Wilmore. So sometimes I play under the alias Lord Wilmore, which is a fake name that the Count of MonteCristo uses. So I actually go with the themes of the book in that
Another
case.
thing that you could have done, you could have just called yourself Pekja MonteCristo. Memory? That's not bad.
Yeah.
That's actually how you say like Lord or whatever in Korean. If you don't remember, that was what the Countdown of MonteCristo had that thing in it, didn't it? In LC, what was it? OGN when they did that feature.
Yep.
Wasn't it Pekja? Isn't that how you say it?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. And the other thing, Thorin, is that when I play Apex, I just mute all my teammates and say nothing.
We're on the same wavelength, Monty. Years ago, when I realized, one, people can recognize your voice, and two, they're annoying, I just start with no comms. I also do the same thing. I mute all 10 people in the game because my assumption is, listen, your comm isn't even going to help me. I'll figure it out myself by inference, mate. Your comm's going to actually get in the way and say the wrong thing and annoy me. So I'd rather not have information from you, which, by the way, is toxic as fuck. And it is literally a team game where you're supposed to talk, but I don't give a fuck. I flaunt the rules. I'm an anti-hero. I don't give a fuck.
I'm that guy who just mutes voice chat, says nothing, and then plays ranked because I play it very casually.
There you go. You actually are the worst.
I do know I'm ruining Apex Legends.
Yes. You are the worst person in Apex Legends for people who actually love the game and really dedicated. It's true. Yes, I love it.
It's okay though, Thor, because I don't speak Japanese and I'm on the Japanese server, so it wouldn't do me any good anyway. But I also do that on the American server when I play.
Okay.
I am the worst person in Apex Legends, but it's okay. I'm not actually good at the game either. So
right, shall we do our again, Monty? I don't want to like sort of break the fourth wall and ruin the surprise. Spoiler: I think suspension of disbelief means you guys will enjoy it. Shall we do that thing where we get incredibly performatively angry that they've drawn LCK and LPL teams directly in the same world, Monty, where FlyQuest plays GAM? Should we do that? Should we do that classic thing that we do so well?
Hey, Thorin. Did you know that now with the power of Amazon, that Riot has released their own ranking system? Which, by the way,
Bezos ruining more things. Bezos ruining my worlds now. Why? Why, Bezos? Why?
Which, you would think, Thorin, you would think that after they debuted this ranking system, they would do something like, I don't know, seed worlds according to it.
Not be a great idea.
Not that I think that this is a good idea, but they did release the formulas.
System. Yes.
But what is the fucking point of having this global power ranking system if we're not going to use it to seed this tournament? What is the point of it? Right? Why are we still using the pool system?
Because, by the way, that's exactly the point I always made. It's why, actually, just like, I can't remember if it was Nymera who said this. Basically, I agree with him. The reason why, I think we discussed this on the actual last episode. The reason why that system is good, Monty, is because it ensures you can never have exactly these two matchups. If you were doing a 1-16, Monty, no matter even if you used the power rankings or a biased list, you would never end up with a system where the first round would generate Gen.G and Weibo and TES and T1. Like, Gen.G Weibo could be the fucking final of Worlds, guys, and that's the first round matchup. TES top T1 could be a playoff match. Like, it would be impossible to generate those. Like, obviously the most egregious one is Gen.G Weibo, by the way. That is fucking insane, bro. You've actually picked the two second place teams of summer to play each other in the first round. Again, I'll just reiterate again. While FlyQuest are playing GAM esports. What? So basically, Bwipo, if he just does normal expectations, will be 1-0. But like Xiaohu and Faker could be 0-1 and then play each other. Get me out of here. I can't handle the simulation anymore. Pull me out. I can't take it anymore, man. I can't take a world where Xiaohu plays Faker in the 0-1 game and one of them 0-2. We have to look at the Swiss, like every fucker who said NRG's run was legit, and go, I guess one of these teams really isn't all they cracked up to be. You just played the whole world's playoff for the fucking opening rounds of your bastard. I hate it so much, mate. I hate it.
Like, I also like how we have the rematch, top esports versus T1, which is just a straight up rematch of the esports World Cup final.
The final in the first round.
Meanwhile, of course, BLG just gets Mad Lions, right? And G2 just gets to draw Pain Gaming. So this is why we hate the Swiss system, guys. This is why we hate the way it's seeded.
Literally, I know Hanwha would be the highest seed, but Hanwha gets PSG, and then Gen.G gets fucking Weibo. What scale are we working on? Like I say, even though, as you said, it might be scuffed the global ranking, it would never allow that, Monty. It would never be possible for that global ranking to have that matchup happen. That's the flaw of not having seeding.
Yeah.
Or pretending all regions are equal and they could all be equally as good, which just isn't reality, obviously.
Yeah, basically, like, so Riot rolls out these global power rankings, and it was a bit of a joke, obviously, like saying, why are we seeing this right now? Because the power ranking, why aren't we seeing them use this to seed the tournament? Because right now Gen.G is in the top place. They explain the formula. They also say straight up that the regional modifiers are going to be heavily influenced by international events. And I do think it's wise not to use this for seeding right now, because you probably just want more data to like tweak this and tune it. And obviously when we see things like, Pain Gaming getting through over 100 Thieves, that's going to drastically like boost their ranking according to this model. Because I'm actually just trying to fucking find Pain Gaming in here right now, right?
Oh, it's gonna be way down, isn't it? Of course,
they are 49th in this, and I guess it includes now their world's performance.
Let me know, where are Gen.G and Weibo on that list? So 49th for Pain Game. Where are Weibo and Gen.G on that list? I'm gonna guess top 5.
100 Thieves is 36th, by the way.
That might be accurate.
Weibo is 11th, somehow behind KT Rolster.
What?
G2 is 5th above T1. That's a fun one. Well, I mean, they did very well at MSI. So
to be fair, the superior mid lane has been ranked higher. That's all good.
They did take 4th place at MSI, which is why they've gotten so far up the ranking. So it goes Gen.G, BLG, Hanwha, top G2, T1 are the top 6. And I think you can make justifications.
And we're assuming they obviously don't factor in EWC, I'm guessing, right?
Oh no, I don't think they would.
I'm gonna guess not. So the T1 would have to be lower, wouldn't they?
Right, and they shouldn't. Obviously, they shouldn't factor in EWC as well. But yeah, look, I think that they're going to be using this to tune it, and then maybe next year we might actually see these global power rankings, because if they have additional international events, it's just going to provide, more fodder for this actual system to be used. And it is an ELO based system that they've decided to use. So if they can actually tune the regional modifiers properly, especially with some more data, then maybe this can actually be used for seeding in the future. And seeding, according to this, like you say, Thorin, would be significantly more fair, because there's a pretty wide range. I mean, for example, Thorin, like Mad Lions Koi is 23rd, and they're lower than Kwangdong and LGD. Which are the two teams straight above them, and OMG is behind them. Like Cloud9 is on this, which is quite funny, because they're actually above.
I'm not the biggest Mad Lions fan, Monty, but they might be able to beat Kwangdong.
Yeah, I think they might.
Touch and go, but they could beat them. Come on, let's be fair. If they can beat G2, surely it's possible. Come on.
Cloud9 is 24th in this ranking, and 100 Thieves is 36th. And then we have Pain Gaming at 49 and R7 at 50. So clearly, some more work needs to be done on this. But there will, like I said, there will be definitely more, as we consolidate into the Americas region, into the Pacific region, and then have more international competition. I think maybe this could actually be a relatively good system. It's a bit scuffed right now. It's a bit scuffed right now. And obviously, guys, I don't think it's possible for this to be worse than the pool system for seeding these events that they have right now. So I'm optimistic about it. I am optimistic about this.
The pool system, especially when you couldn't draw the same region, was actually almost the worst system you could design, Monty. There's many, many years where I've gone through and I've just shown people like some of the groups you get, and it's like, this is like a nightmare fuel group. Meanwhile, the other guys are like the group of life. Like, what the fuck is that? So, no, there are some crazy ones where, like, the obvious example being, if you were the number 1 seed from NA or EU, you could just draw the number 2 seed from fucking China and Korea as your pool 2 teams, and you were just cooked instantly. And even though you're the number 1 seed, you're not even favored to get out the group. Like, there was some stupid ass ones. Meanwhile, that one time TSM avoided fucking Korea and made the 1 top 8 run ever. Remember that one time? Luckily, they did get cursed for the rest of history and never do anything after that, so it's all good. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
So yeah, I do think though,
There's
as we
one I want to ask you about though. There's an obvious one here, Monty, that could be quite fun. Bearing in mind we have no idea with all the drama. No, that one. Listen, that one could be fun too, but for the other reasons, that one could be fun. The one that could be fun on a good angle is Team Liquid against LNG. Bro, who knows how much practice Scout got in if they were ever practicing week out. That's an interesting angle. It's only a BO1, remember, guys? In a BO1, they can win that. That's doable. Let's see.
Yeah. With the amount of drama, I do think that they were probably practicing though, because the advantage, so the advantage of, LNG not having to play in play-ins, the Asian teams not going to Europe early, and the Asian teams mostly just practicing in Asia, is that Scout wouldn't have had to leave China to scrim with his team, right? So the real question is, how much time did it take him away from his computer or away from the game to sort out his legal situation, which I think was probably done by lawyers and his agents anyway. So I doubt he had much to do with that. So unless it was like really distracting him mentally, which who knows, may well could have been. I do think he was probably practicing pretty well with LNG. But LNG, here's the thing about LNG is that they were never the most spectacular, like they haven't been this year the spectacular macro team that they were last year. So TL should still have some advantages. And indeed, Thorin, like at least, I mean, play-ins is play-ins, but the lane swap thing is still happening. Even after the changes that were made on this patch. And it's not happening as frequently or for as long as duration, but you can definitely still get away with lane swapping for the first couple of levels, and it doesn't seem to have changed really. Like, you're still going to be down a couple of plates like you were before, but it's not like the entire turret is getting toasted. But we may have some...
What's scary, though. What makes that scary is when you know it's a lane swap meta, you're going to be totally prepped for it and waiting. This time, you don't even know if someone's going to do it. If they really do, just pull it out, mate. That's the nightmare in the lane swap where you're not even looking for it, and it just happens out of nowhere. That could be the one that could cause some upsets.
Teams are still aware that, this is happening, and I've heard some compelling arguments, like we heard on our Worlds preview episode last week, which, by the way, guys, if you haven't seen last week's episode, you may want to go back and watch that, because we did major regions instead of a lot of the minor regions this time. So it's actually more applicable to the phase that's about to happen, because we're talking about LCS, LEC, LPL, and LCK with experts and like color casters from those regions. We did kind of skip the play-ins preview because, look, just not as interesting as the major regions, right? But I think when we look at some of these regions, there were theories that people were putting out there, like, oh, is T1 potentially going to go back to these lane bully lanes? Like, are we going to see heavy pushing lanes like, Caitlyn Lux come back for T1? That could be a specialty that they have, which, if you're lane swapping out of that lane and they manage to take an entire turret, that could be, highly damaging. So we're going to learn a lot more about the current state of the lane swap situation with teams who are better at it. But if a team is going to want to keep lane swapping, it probably is going to be Team Liquid, because they were really world class at it. And they still have they have had very good kind of late game objective control and macro. So potentially there's an angle there for them to beat LNG. I would have personally preferred to have seen the Team Liquid versus T1 in the first round, because that's already delivered like a couple of times this year. It's kind of the matchup that I was excited to see. But honestly, Thorin, the most hilarious matchup that I think could happen did happen, which is Fnatic versus T1.
By the way, I'll give you the immediate angle. Here's the immediate angle, bro. Right? Think about this. Lucid is a rookie. You think Razor can be a one, can't get him? That could happen. I think that's totally plausible.
It's also that they D+ has no late game objective control, and neither does Fnatic. So
it's going to be a shit fest.
You just have to believe that this thing is just going to be some sort of shit show that's like, both teams have 3 Drakes and we're coming down to an Elder flip 50 minutes into this game. I don't think this is going to be a very dirty, very nasty game between these two teams. And my only regret, Thorin, is that we don't have a best of 3 of this. You're just going to get that one game. But it is really funny that those teams matched up against each other in the first one. It's probably going to be like, you look at this list and the most compelling games are like, obviously, there are a bunch of compelling games, but I think that's the problem, is that you shouldn't look at the first round of Swiss at Worlds and say, ooh, these are a lot of potentially good games. Like, we shouldn't want good games here. We should want very one-sided games in the first round so that we actually get in the second round and beyond much more compelling games. Because
it's like I said, think about how unfair it is if like 2 LCK or LPL teams goes 0-1 and then play each other, and that's 2 tournament lives gone and BO1s against their other main. That's so unfair. Meanwhile, the energies of the world just dance between Gam to this one, to this law, Gam to like, give me a fucking break. That could be like Gam to Fnatic to get the fuck out my face.
I mean, look, there's a very real opportunity here for like G2.
Help us if somehow like FlyQuest fluked out
G2
of groups
and
because they got the crazy
FlyQuest.
draw, and then Bwipo gets to go. All you Westerners are trash except me and Caps and on stream or whatever when he's having some meltdown.
Just think about this, guys. Like there's a world where FlyQuest and G2 both win and then play each other in the second round, and then one of them is 2-0 and has potentially three best of threes to get into quarters. That's why it's very likely that a Western team is going to be making it out, right? Very likely, especially with this initial draw, that a Western team will be making it out into quarters, which will thrill many of you. Yep. But I don't think is really in the best competitive interests of this tournament, and it is being enabled by this garbage seeding system. Like, G2 should not be playing fucking Pain Gaming in the first round. Like, that's not a matchup that should exist. It's not a matchup that should exist. So yeah, I would say, like, it's funny to have Fnatic versus D+. It's interesting to have Top Esports versus T1 or Gen.G versus Weibo, because it feels like we get some potentially very good international games right off the bat. But it is kind of an indictment of this format that this is being allowed to actually happen, whereas G2 just gets to play Brazil and go up 1-0 for free. I mean, if G2 somehow loses that game, it is going to be insane.
Now, you know why I told you before there was ever a single Swiss ever played at Worlds, this system fucking sucks. Look, it doesn't suck as bad as the last one before, but you know what? Like, I don't know, having like tuberculosis is better than having, I don't know, terminal cancer, but still don't want tuberculosis either. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just have some, like, not be ill. I'd rather have a cool system. It already exists. We watched them all. GSL.
Yeah, and even if you think the upset sounds good, like I said, let's say Pain Gaming somehow upsets G2 in a best of 1. Well, then FlyQuest has to play Pain Gaming potentially, and they just get to go 2-0 potentially for free, right? So it doesn't actually solve any of the problems here with a team. You can see that the road just being laid out to an easy placement into the next stage. So you can absolutely like fluke your way through this system just based off of bad seeding. And I mean, we saw that, you know, like it or not, NRG got into quarterfinals while they beat 0 Asian teams last time. And G2 actually did beat Asian teams, including a world finalist team in Weibo Gaming last year in the Swiss stage. And they didn't make it out, right?
Here's the one I hate. Everyone telling us we're morons for thinking KT Rolster is good when they got literally all LPL and LCK teams in Swiss, and then they got the #1 team of the world who had never been beaten in the quarterfinals. Like, bro, what am I supposed to do at this point in time? Like, that's like God's telling me I'm not allowed to win. Like, I just can't win. I'd have to be capable of winning worlds to just make semis, for fuck's sake. What even is that?
Yeah. And it sucks because KT might have been like a top 4 team in an actual double elimination event.
Wouldn't you love to see them on the other side of the bracket? Them against BLG or against
double
fucking...
limb.
Just
a double limb.
That'd be dope.
Just a double limb. That's all I want to see. So yeah, this is definitely a bit of a rough opening day, even if it will hype up Western audiences.
Here's my question.
Please,
what are your actual predictions? So we've got Gen.G Weibo, we've got TEST1. What would your prediction be?
I think even though Top Esports was kind of like disappointing, like this is the team that we thought should have made finals. I think Top Esports is still an extremely good team. And also, like, I think what's interesting about the mid lane meta at this tournament is that we've seen kind of both sides of this be viable, from control mages or from more like melee assassin players, right? Because of the Yone being strong, because of the Akali being strong, as well as Syndra and Orianna, like LeBlanc being played a lot. So I think Creep can still probably hang on in this one. And the problem with T1, sure, it was a meta problem, and it is unequivocally good that Orianna, which was like has been Faker's best champion for the past year, is empowered in this meta, right? That is really fucking good for Faker, especially because his Yone has been like quite terrible. And he can just kind of default back to, and his LeBlanc is like, I think is still good. So there
the joke is that's what they should say when he tries to lock that in draft. You're nah, mate, nah, give that to Zayas, mate. Let him in on that.
Yeah, and that's great, obviously, for T1 to have the Yone still viable, because it's not like they don't have a really good player who can use
exactly.
it.
You can also take it.
But I don't really think Tian is going to self-destruct and like get another Dade Award. So I would take top esports, because the issue with T1 has really been not only the metagame, but just their own team fighting and shot calling with the champions that they're playing has looked bad. Like they look like they're not on the same page. Some players are engaging while others are disengaging. We're seeing those awful like carry a Bard ultimates that are trolling his own team. So it really hasn't been simply a meta issue. It's been a synergy issue. And I don't know if T1 will have rectified that. Whereas like over the course of this year, top esports has maintained, I think, a higher floor than T1 has. But T1 has also been very clutch, when it mattered. This roster has been clutch, and their floor at international events has obviously been really, really high the entire time they've been together. Have they struggled to actually win? Yes. But do they consistently like place top 3? Yes, also. So I think that all said, I still take top esports here. And then clearly I'm going to take Genji. Chovy shouldn't be having a problem with this meta or any meta in particular.
Ready, though. Here's why you have to get ready, right? Because it is plausible in a BO1, Weibo can beat Genji. If that happens, even though that could, on the one hand, say Tarzan is good at the game, it would then mean, even if Chovy plays great, he will be a fraud. I know what these fans are like, motherfucker. They will say that he
lose the best of one.
He's in 0. What? Yeah, they will. It doesn't matter, mate. If he ever, bro, I've said this a million times. I know that these fans are either idiots or didn't watch that match between Genji and BLG last Worlds. Because when they tell me Chovy choked in that series, it's like, bro, I don't even know what you're talking about now. I don't know what choking means to you. As far as I can tell, choking just means losing to these people. Like it has nothing to do with how you play. It's just wild. So I already see either way, people are going to get called frauds on that one, even though those are probably like 2 top 4 teams in the world as mental. So it's like, it's so egregious that they're even playing at this time in the tournament.
Yeah, and at least when it comes to Xiaohu, right? In this phase, with Weibo, like the Lucian being still viable, I think is really quite good for Weibo. That's probably just gonna have to be a default ban because of his skill on that champion. Chovy also can play Lucian mid lane, and he was playing Lucian mid lane quite a lot this year, especially compared to a lot of other mid laners. So maybe that's more of a power pick or a first pick that gets taken away by Genji here. Keen's extreme. I mean, this team is just so versatile that it's hard to imagine them, but they've struggled with the wrong meta read, and I would argue, their priority for picks in the finals against HLE was off and deprioritizing that Tristana. But they always can play a lot of these picks. You know what I mean? It's not that they can't play the champions; it's that they're choosing to not play the champions. And that's really Genji's flaw. Is like maybe their meta read has been slow. At times, or they failed to adapt at times, or they got too cocky at times, and perhaps that comes to bite them. But I still think probably we're going to see, a lot from Chovy and the rest of Genji. Maybe Genji gets hurt by the fact that they have to play more utility bot sides, but even then, Pace has been a very good Jhin player. He's been a good Jhin player. The Ziggs has still been played in the bot lane in spite of the nerfs, even if it is less powerful. But probably the person that is helped most by this bot lane meta is T1, because Guma's a great Jhin player. They like to play long range pick. He's also, with the Jinx coming back in,
they can play top side carries as well, so they can just play that. That's how they want to play. Yeah.
Yeah, Ashe is still very powerful, and so these are all champions that kkOma and Genji as a whole T1 as a whole are very skilled at. So don't be fooled by like T1 coming in as a 3rd seed. They should be a lot better than even with their synergy issues. Will that be enough to win them the tournament? Probably not, but I do think they're going to be a lot better at Worlds than we saw them in summer playoffs.
By the way, 2 quick things. One, this is how you know that actually the Esports Awards has hinted all of their like fucking status, because I didn't even really pay attention or get mad at the awards. Like, I don't know if you know this, Monty, but get ready. Or don't worry. He didn't win, but they nominated Faker as one of the League of Legends names for PC Player of the Year again. This year, like, dude, this year. Bro, this is the year he was going so badly. He was smashing his face off a wall. Like, that is how bad his year was going.
Is Knight nominated? I
think Knight and Chovy were, to be fair.
Okay.
I think they were.
Well, there you go.
I think those were the league names off the top of my head. But by the way, it's still insane, because there could always be someone who should have had it instead of Faker there, mates. Maybe it should have been like it's all a bunch of players. You could have done Viper or something, or maybe you could go with like Jackie Love or something. There's a bunch of players could have had that, mate. Yeah, of course. So it's egregious as usual. But there again, sadly, I think that's where the Esports Awards has actually gone evil. They used to tell me before, right? Well, we have to invite certain people to the awards and give them nominations like Riot so they buy a table. I think now they also think if you put Faker's name there, 1 million Faker fans click vote Faker on the website, so you get all the hits.
Yep.
That's where you become evil, bro, because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. That would be like letting fucking Jim Carrey be like nominated for Oscar of the leading actor every year because he's really popular. Even if like you're leaving out Daniel Day-Lewis because he did some indie film or something, you morons. By the way, also the second thing is, just because I can crowbar it in here, FlyQuest's playing Monty, and their top laner is an iconic, bombastic figure called Bwipo. Did you happen to see any of the clips or highlights of when he did actually have like a manic episode on? I think a manic episode. He just melted down on stream, but some of these were incredible. Like, did you watch some of them?
Yeah. I mean,
it's the one where
I'm disconcerted by them. Yes.
He opened with the line, "Do you have AIDS?" That was a real thing he said out loud. Do you have AIDS? By the way, that's not even like, are you a moron? Are you mentally challenged? You mentally ill? Like, do you have AIDS, bro? AIDS. Like, that's how I know something's wrong. So remember, Bwipo used to be someone who stood against toxicity. He used to literally tell like Forgiven and people like that off and chastise them for being rude in solo queue. And by the way, Forgiven's way of being solo queue was just like, you're subhuman, you didn't gag the bot lane. He wasn't like, do you have AIDS? Do you have long COVID? He wasn't dog diagnosing people, was he? Like, I can't believe it. I also love Monty. This is when I actually knew for real, because I actually guessed, if people don't know, on Side Select before the news came out that he said he'd been contacted and sort of been put in contact with a mental health specialist or something. I actually guessed that there was something more going on than just him whiling on stream. You know, everyone else was saying on Twitter, like, lol, the guy like won LCS and now he's going off. Like, no, to me there was clearly some underlying issues, because to me he was even doing that thing where I could tell, like mid-sentence, he was sort of flipping his polarity and just saying a mad thing. Like, bro, it's the one where he would say stuff like, I've got nothing against Merwin. And then he'd be like, but he's fucking absolute shit on Nidalee. And he's like, oh, bro, even in the sentence, like, it's like, who is this? Like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with Bwipo, which already was his fucking game inside League of Legends anyway. But whatever. Just the personality's gone off. What the fuck?
It also explains like his, you know, the way he plays the game and like his over aggression at times, even when it feels like it's unwarranted, right?
Yeah, the intrusive voices get to him. They're like, go for it. Yes. It's like Sauron when you have the ring on, mate. Like, go into them.
I mean, look, I think I don't know how to look at this and think that there isn't potentially like some underlying psychological condition, right? Because it does seem like the behavior itself is abnormal.
By the way, that's also where, if you're his friend, you tell him, get the fuck off stream, mate. Come on, get off. Like, don't go live. Like, come off. Like, you're only hurting yourself in this. Because the other problem, dude, is he streamed for like 3 days doing this or something mental. Like, it wasn't even just like one session. Like, people, and that's also, I've got to say, look, I don't like Bwipo. Bwipo has done things to me professionally and publicly that I think are fucking egregious, where he basically implied I'm like some racist bigot who made up a bunch of lies about how Koreans. I imagined they might not fuck with gay people and think they're awesome and promote them in their society. You know, literal facts. If you've ever lived in fucking South Korea, I don't care who hears it. So when I said all those things and he betrayed me to apologize to T1, like I have reasons where I could find some Schadenfreude, but even I, Monty, after a few clips was like, oh, it's obvious there's something going on. This isn't even just him being a dickhead. This is just something wrong. So what I can't handle is for 3 days, the community was just lapping it up. They were loving it. They were bathing in essentially someone having a mental health episode on camera. And I've no doubt the Twitch chat was probably fucking provoking him to say shit and egging him on and bringing up names. That's the thing about this community I despise, Monty. I've always said this. The worst thing about this community is we will absolutely drive streamers and personalities to the point of suicide. And then if they ever do it, like Etika, Monty, everyone will turn around like a fraud and go, oh my God, this is terrible. How could this ever occur? We need to have a serious conversation about mental health. Oh, sorry, I have to quickly go because Bwipo's gone live and he's just called someone having AIDS and he's having worms in their ears. Like, lol, he's whiling, bro. Like, you're the ones doing it. This is a feedback loop, guys. We're actually fucking destroying people. That's where it stops being fun for me, when I actually know this person's like actually in like that. By the way, it's implied to me there's almost a level of anguish or despair going on behind comments like that. You know, like what's going on with his psychology? That's actually really disturbing. Especially, by the way, it's not like he failed in Cloud9, Monty, and he's going to Worlds. He's going to go to the biggest pressure tournament he's played in years and years, and we're going to put all that stress on him. And by the way, because he's talked shit, you imagine every DM and every fucking reply if he loses these games. If he loses to Gam now, by the way, he may as well not open Twitter. It's going to be a fucking nightmare for him. I mean, the joke is even I'll do a tweet, but all the other people who aren't me that don't get a pass to be in esports, whatever, edit out the VOD, we want the monetization, timestamp that, editor, take that word out, or if you want, take what I said and reverse it, like when Kanye used to edit, like do the thing backwards and get the money okay. I think that's just sad. I think it's a sad state of affairs, mate.
I also was I was concerned by how, like you say, how long it went on without FlyQuest potentially stepping in or somebody saying like, hey, I think you should maybe take a break from streaming. It doesn't bring me joy to see these things, and I don't think anything super egregious happened, but it would be nice for somebody to turn the stream off.
Let me test you. I will test your memory. Do you remember what one of the famous taglines Megumi Expert, the person I know from StarCraft, but she was like one of the people leading FlyQuest. Right. Do you know what one of her taglines used to be? She used to spam on Twitter while she was working with FlyQuest. Do you remember?
I do not. When she was CEO,
it was something like "Be kind."
Oh,
that was the FlyQuest brand. So we've gone from "Be kind" to "Do you have AIDS?" You know what? That's a hell of a rebrand, Papa. That's a hell of a rebrand. I guess Papa really does have a brand new bag, because that's a hell of a fucking rebrand, homie.
I mean, I do think that they should rebrand FlyQuest because the name is stupid and the brand is garbage. But
you know what? AIDS Quest. What are we rebranding to at this point in time?
Look, I think you should just embrace the toxicity, right? Just be the edgy brand now. Yeah. Who needs to? The reason why.
And also, what Bwipo could do is he could also work with the new branding, because actually, instead of saying, do you have AIDS, he could actually give advice on how to avoid AIDS, which is like wear a condom, in which case he could rename the brand to Johnny Quest. That's straight fire in a way these Zoomers will never understand. They will never know what I just did there. That was straight fire, but whatever. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Google everything. Google everything. That's it.
That's good. I think when it comes to the FlyQuest brand, though, you have to remember that when they were under their old ownership, the reason why they did the things they did was because they had no money. So they had to come up with a clever like marketing tagline. And I think that they did a good job of doing that. But now with the new ownership, I really don't see a reason to like perpetuate this brand. I don't think it has any real value or inherent fan base that wouldn't travel with it to a different brand name. So hopefully, maybe we'll get lucky next year. But yeah, I think the Bwipo thing was unfortunate that so much of it got aired out. And I just wonder why it was allowed to just like keep going and going and going over multiple days, it seems, rather than somebody being more in control.
There's also my joke version. I told you the real things that he did and the real mental health concerns I had, and how I could see he was sort of like flipping his mind around and giving into the intrusive thoughts. But my joke version that the on-camera personality of Thorin would say would be, I knew he might actually be mentally ill when he said that like Nemesis was at like the level of Caps or something. So I was like, right, you know what? Section him, get a straight jacket in here, get the fucking paddy wagon Monty, throw him in a padded cell. It's Mouth of Madness, and he does read Suttocade.
I just can somebody please explain to me what this fascination with Nemesis is? Like, I don't understand.
Because let's just hype him too. To be fair, like they're sort of thick as thieves, aren't they?
But I just don't understand why to this day Nemesis has all these fans that are claiming that he would be one of the greatest European mid laners when he didn't really show that when he was playing, in my opinion.
I mean, he was just, I'll never say he sucked, but he was a good player. He was a top half player. Obviously, he was even like, to me, he was one of those players. It was like he was borderline elite. No, to me, he was never in the category of Caps. Like, if you're going to say it was like Caps and then Nemesis, like, get the fuck out of here. I'd say I've always said about those lineups, someone had to not be winning the game in those lineups. Like, Fnatic had also the other best players in Europe. Like, why did they never win? Someone was playing badly sometimes. Not always him, but sometimes him.
He's also been retired at this point in time longer than he was actually playing.
It's worse. Monty, he only played for 2 years.
Yeah, and that was how many years ago?
2 years
5 years ago?
Yeah, it ended in 2020, bro. But Monty, you remember that thing I always get triggered about, where in season 5, I would be talking about Froggen, and they'd go, shut the fuck up, that was season 2. Guys, you're talking about Nemesis from 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And you're acting like that was yesterday. Mate, you know how many people were mega in 2020 that we can't have that convo about now? Think about the play. By the way, 2020 was when Perks was still really good. You can go back and keep going through the names, all of them. Fucking Wonder was a monster. What are we talking about? You know what I mean? Reckless was still pretty good. Bro, 2020 was another world. Like, now look, I get it that he plays. Look, I will say the fact he plays Korean solo queue every day, that'll help you. That'll give you a chance to maybe come back. But I agree with you. Even if, like, essentially, first of all, I'll agree with Nemesis fans in one sense. I imagine he's probably better at League of Legends now after playing in Korean solo queue for 1,000,000 years. I just think it's weird because I think you exaggerated him in LEC and then you took your inference of how good he was in LEC. You already thought he was as good as Caps. And then you've just inferred, well, now if he's been in the hyperbolic time chamber training with, I don't even know the characters from Dragon Ball Z. Piccolo, there you go. I'll take Dragon Ball. I'll bring him back. Master Roshi. Oh my God, I named one. I pulled one there. It's a suspicious pull. I got one. He was in the hyperbolic time chamber in Korea, and now you think he's going to come out like, I am Nemesis, Super Saiyan level 3. And then you're all LS with the power reader, like, oh my God, he is almost as good as Caps. Oh, it's broken. Oh, shit. Oh.
That's funny.
So when I actually realised, I think I'm down with the kids, Monty, by referencing Dragon Ball Z, which came out about 20 years ago.
Do people still watch Dragon Ball Z?
It's fucked, isn't it?
Our audience watched it, so that's what matters.
True.
But
yeah, it's okay. That's true. It's true.
Does anyone watch? Is it on TV? Do the kids? I think, the funny thing, Thorin, is I think like the Dragon Ball Z equivalent of the next generation was probably Naruto, right? And I think those kids are like, people don't even watch Naruto. So I have no idea what the next generation of kids, like, what is the anime equivalent these days?
Monty, it's even worse. I just Googled it. Dragon Ball Z came out in 1989, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I was 6 when it came out, and I reference it now. Hey, all you bloody kids. Will you believe Dragon Ball? The joke is, how could have been the one watching it? I didn't,
I know Attack on Titan's over now too. So what? My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan. These are probably the actual like Zoomer.
Just because they love it every time we do this, Monty. I'll actually tell people a detail. You've watched Attack on Titan, right?
I watched the first 2 episodes, decided it was crap, and
never
watched it again.
Well, here's what's funny. I've never watched it, right? And one of the reasons why, almost the same as you, I think I watched 1, 2, or maybe even 3 episodes. I can't remember. I was high. I remember watching it and just going, this isn't for me, mate. Like, I don't know what I'm getting out of this. I find it like so overwrought. But what's hilarious is it's actually an example of where anime fans are always their own worst enemy. Because some people I know who do like the good animes, not just the absolute shite out there and the guilty pleasures. Some of them were telling me some of the things that happen in the plot later. And you know what? If I even explained it to you, you'd get interested. Like, listen, I've never watched it and probably never will, Monty. There's too many good movies I've never got to in my life. I'm not going to explore it. But I will say that this is why you have to figure out the selling point of a story if you want someone to get it. You can't just say it's great. This is the angle that apparently is in that show. and obviously I haven't watched it, so I can't be doing spoilers in theory, right? I've heard that a massive component of the plot, Monty, becomes that essentially all the people in those like towns or whatever have actually been lied to about history and how it all worked and who like all these people were and stuff, and that they live in sort of like almost like a bubble of alternate history, and that part of it's about the idea of like questioning like all those aspects and being the person who has like the audacity to be the iconic. Now, if you told me that, and then as long as it wasn't like 20 episodes in, maybe I would have watched. If you just told me, bro, look at this big titan, he's going to eat him, like, I'm out. I'm done. Thank you. That's like when I saw Naruto on that giant frog, I was like, I think I've had enough of this. You know what? I'm back to the adult entertainment. Back to adult entertainment. That's a good way to sell it, though. Anyone who's watched it, confirm in chat. I don't know if it's true. Was that a decent way to sell it? Was that true, or was that all bollocks? I've never watched it. So
well, that's the issue with anime, though, is that when you describe, like, anime is often very conceptually interesting. It just like face plants the execution, right? So you're like, ooh, the concept of this world and this like kind of out there premise is really cool, but when you actually get to it, it's just a bunch of like uwu girl fan service doing that, and it loses all depth and meaning, unfortunately. So,
oh, by the way, any anime in which someone says something and then someone does that thing where it goes like a static image where it's like, oh, and then the ding, 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 ding. I don't listen. I'm not 8 years old. I don't need to watch that. Thank you. Like, I need. Remember, guys, I could be watching like The Sopranos right now, and I'm watching this shite. Like, you are fucking doing my head in. And also, please miss me. I've made this point in the past. Please miss me. I am an elitist with the rating that goes, it's not bad. I'm not out there for stuff that's not bad. I'm out there for stuff that's excellent, which is very different from not bad. Okay. And also, if you've only seen 10 things, your idea of not bad is atrocious. So don't recommend things to me, please.
But on that note, shout out Satoshi Kon and being awesome. It's just great.
Notice they never get round to recommending any of his shit, Monty. Have you noticed that? Don't. The same people who always say you've got to watch Bleach and you've got to watch One Piece and you've got to watch Attack on Titan and you've got to watch this. They never go, you've got to watch Millennium Actress. If you don't watch that, how are you going to understand?
Even if you watch the series, Thorin, I'm the only one who ever recommends Paranoia Agent, even though that's actually one of the truly great anime series out there. So it was his only series that he ever did. But yeah, it's not even just the films. It's also Paranoia Agent. Also, guys, if you want to hear us talk about anime under glowing terms, we did actually do a review of Tokyo Godfathers on the Elephant Culture channel, which is great. And it is one of and I would be shocked if we didn't get to other Satoshi Kon movies, films at some other point in time. We've also talked, Thorin, about, I know this is now turning into an anime podcast, but we've talked.
They're all desperate for us to talk about it, bro. You have to realize. So if we ever do it on Foreplay, those episodes will bang, I'm telling you.
We also discussed possibly doing a 90s, like, hyper violent anime arc with like Akira and Ninja Scroll and that kind of stuff too. So we'll get to the anime at some point in time. I also like Miyazaki, but you don't.
They also, even with the movies, generally don't ever recommend the good ones. Like, I'll give you another example of a movie that I think straight fire as an anime. It's that one called Bloodlust Vampire Hunter D.
Oh,
the
that
art
was great.
in it is fucking dope, mate. And even the story's not bad. The art is fucking fire in that. It's really good. That's not. Yep. I thought none of that shit. Put it this way: at no point in that does someone run to attack a character, and then suddenly there's a puff of smoke, and it's just like a wooden log on a tree, some sort of weird ninja thing I got in the road. That never happens, believe it or not. That just actually good fight scenes happen. It's cool.
Also, I'm not even just into boomer anime because I'm really looking. It's funny when we were recording the last Foreplay episode because we're moving into a scary movie arc. Richard and I were talking about the new Uzumaki anime that's going to be released which is from the manga from Junji Ito. So I'm actually really excited about that. The first episode might have already been released, but it's 4 episodes that are coming up on the manga. So I will even be watching that. Moving forward. So there we go. I think the first episode was released last week. Sorry, guys. I'm very jet lagged and I was flying back to Korea. So I think I missed the actual first episode coming out. But there you go. So yeah. Now that the anime portion of Something Inside is done, we got thoroughly derailed.
Just a freebie. All good.
Let's talk about something that isn't as stale potentially to the younger audience as Dragon Ball Z. You might even say, Thorin, that we should be focusing on something a little more fresh for our audience. So here you go. Second sponsor is HelloFresh, of course. And what is HelloFresh, you may ask? Well, friends, it's a great way to learn how to cook or to, learn new recipes or to take a little bit off your plates when it comes to grocery planning and meal planning for the week. And why is that? Well, you get to pick from recipes and they send you in a box with cold packs so it stays cool and refrigerated. Once a week, you get a box with all those ingredients in it, and you really only need like a few things like salt, pepper, olive oil, butter. I think when I was subscribed to it for over a year when I was in the States, I really enjoyed it, even though like I'm a good cook as well. If you're a good cook, if you're a novice cook, works for you regardless because it's fun to use. So you can get some home cooked meals going, and
also the meals are way classier than if you're a normal person who doesn't know how to cook. They're way classier than you'll pick. So they'll have ingredients you wouldn't even have thought to put in. They'll make the food delicious and with diverse and texture and all that.
They have spice blends. I mean, I've gotten lobster from them before. I've cooked steak and lobster from HelloFresh, and it was very good, I thought. So they'll even send you lobster tails so you can learn how to cook that kind of stuff. They have, usually some sort of protein option and then vegetables that go with it, whether, they'll have you oven roast potatoes or make mashed potatoes. There's a lot of different options there. You'll get green beans oftentimes. So a variety of broccoli, variety of healthy options for you. They switch all the recipes every week. They were even, they were doing, they do tie-ins sometimes. Like they did like a Guardians of the Galaxy tie-in one time where they had like kind of Guardians of the Galaxy themed recipes. That was really fun. When Guardians of the Galaxy 3 came out, they have fit and wholesome, quick and easy, vegetarian, family friendly. So sometimes I get the dinners. Sometimes I get like the lunches that take like 10 minutes to make. So I could just have a healthy lunch that I didn't have to think about too much while I was working during the day. So that was really great. They have 50 recipes to choose from every week that they cycle through, and you can select your own delivery date. You pick your meals. You can just update that every week on their website, pick the meals out that you want. You can pause it if you go on vacation anytime. It's extremely convenient. So you can also do it for 2 people sizes. You can get portions for 4 people if you have a family. So it's all very flexible for you guys to use. And not only that, but you can get free breakfast for life if you go to HelloFresh.com/free LFN. 1 free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life just by going to HelloFresh.com/free LFN. America's #1 meal kit. So thank you very much to HelloFresh. I do miss it. I do miss it, guys, having moved back to Korea, but you don't have to miss it. Be right there for you.
One of my, by the way, shout out to everyone who also supports us and tries these products. Like we actually do recommend them. As Monty says, we have both tried these products. They're both really good. Also, one of the only downsides of being me is if people don't know 100% of the things I say on the show and every single desk I was ever on, it's just off the dome. So what I do is I react to stimuli like an animal, like just off impulse apparently. And then I say something funny based on that. That's why when people think I'm saying some hateful shit, it's like, it's a random thing I just said in my brain. But I have to try so hard not to think up jokes during the opening segments that I sponsor things, because I don't know if they don't want things like that said. Like when you say like free breakfast for life, my joke was going to be, well, if you ever saw him when he played with Ruler, that is the only way he'd get fed. That joke's now too old because he hasn't played in fucking years, has he? But life was a support player that held Ruler down, if people don't know. Just like if you want to enjoy delicious food, then HelloFresh is holding you down in the cooking department and helping you out with the recipes and the ingredients. There you go, I've saved it. I brought it back and saved it at the end, unlike Life's Career.
Yes. And like we said, guys, like we tried these products, we use these products, we genuinely like them. But I was using HelloFresh before we even got sponsored by HelloFresh. So there you go. Also our other sponsor of this show, Turtle Beach. You don't have to trust us, guys. Go look at reviews. Turtle Beach has been making very high-end headsets for years and years and years. Their reviews are excellent on their products. So don't just trust us. You can go check it out yourselves. I look at all these things too, when we have sponsors requesting for us. We turn stuff down that we don't like or we don't think you guys will like. So we are cautious about how we approach this stuff. So thank you. Hopefully we can give you some good recommendations on things that can make your life a little bit better while supporting us at the same time. You see, it's win-win. So yeah.
I mean, it's like I once got an email, Monty, when we were actually like, then this company got rolling, and the headline, it was from someone, it said like S. Bankman Fried, and it was like TSM X LFN collab, millions of dollars. And I was like, you know what, Monty, I don't think with our taste that's actually for us. You know, I feel like that's a no. And we took a pass on that one. So you know what, we might have lost out, but I don't know. And then also there was another email from a guy, and it was like P. Zhang, and it was like, can you help me embezzle some money? But I skipped that one. That went into my spam folder. So shout out to those are all references to shit like the TSM. Everyone just look up the stories, look them all up,
Yeah, it's probably good because TSM did get paid from that partnership, and you know they had to like start taking legal action against, and you know what, they never will be paid because FTX is going to spend all the money like that they're clawing back trying to make the people who had investments on that platform whole, and they're never going to be paying out any kind of sponsorship contracts to TSM, the LCS, or otherwise.
Yeah, to be fair, by the way, I actually fucked up the joke. Our producer did say the joke should have been it was P. Zhang want to buy a car. That's actually the real joke if you know the reference, because that's what he claimed. He had to like take Sword Art's car or some shit like that. If you remember, it was some weird shit like that. The whole thing was just so. It was what was so crazy about that story, Monty, is it was like a K-drama. Like the way the details just kept coming out. Like, oh my god, it's so thrilling and shocking and sensational. And is he lying? And oh my god, but he was in with them for years.
It was very funny.
It was crazy, the drama.
It was also
music playing in the background.
It was also one of those true joys in life, Thorin, because you knew that nobody was actually getting hurt because like BMW or whatever, Sword Art was paid like $6 million, so it was a drop in the bucket. Yes. You know, it doesn't matter if TSM loses money because that's just funny. And they also have a lot of money from their venture capital, from their website empire, you know, so nobody was actually getting hurt in that one. So that was one of the times where I felt really quite okay to laugh at that entire situation.
Here's why we did win in the end against TSM money. Not only did they lose the entire sponsorship and then just cut the esports side of the team almost like out of the org, which is like a W already. But even better, this is how you know we won. Think about how famous TSM the org is and how many famous players have played for TSM, how iconic some of the lineups are. Dude, I am actually willing to say this right now. I am willing to bet legit money that there are loads of LCS fans that without Googling it couldn't tell me the 2022 lineups of TSM. I'm willing to bet real money for that. And the reason that is glorious is that's how irrelevant they were at the end, bro. Like, essentially, the only thing they're famous for at the end, almost like some sort of fucked up reparations, was using the org in the last few years to just pay Sword Art and Maple a whole bunch of money who did play for fuck all in minor regions, and like they just got to have some millions on the way out. So in a weird way, it's almost like they were like Robin Hood. They like stole from the rich. Oh wait, that's Sam Bankman-Fried again, allegedly in a video game Minecraft, and then they gave to the poor, who in this case was Sword Art and Maple. So I'm glad they got money. I'm glad they got paid. Glad they got that Skrilla.
Yeah, there was I noticed that there was a new announcement from on the solo bid subreddit about
what is it?
The late. I'm trying to find it again. It was a couple months ago.
Give controversial or top post or something maybe.
Give me
year.
It was. Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I'm trying to find it, guys. I'm sorry. It was very funny.
It's also, by the way, that's how you know also that the team is dead. TSM subreddit used to be the place to go. That was like my homepage after the games when they lost, or Worlds. And so now it's what? T1 sub, Fnatic sub. Guys, that's just some passe new shit. It used to be all about the TSM. It was all about r/Team Solomid, which also my other favorite detail is it's not called Team Solomid anymore. They rebranded like all idiots. So they also ruined the subreddit name, which is perfect. I love that too.
Just like the Global Offensive stuff, which is still the hub of Counter-Strike.
Bro, when I just opened this is how egregious TSM fans are. How dare they write this at the top of the subreddit, Monty? They put, you are not currently subscribed to Artas Team Solomid. Please respect that by not downvoting. Bro, if there's any fucker on the League of Legends sub has downvoted more real shit, it's TSM fans. And you're having the goal to be. But don't shit in our house on the carpet as we're just shitting all over the walls of every other party that we're ever invited to. Oh, I hate TSM. I don't know if they're breaking it. You're not going to believe this, Monty. Thorin in 2024 hates TSM. Like, yeah, that's 10 years old news, but I do hate them. I fucking despise them. Piece of shit.
The number one post right now, you'll appreciate this, Thorin, based on our Maple conversation, it's just called Maple. It says, congrats to our boy Maple. Well, our boy Maple, yes, TSM, surely your boy.
I know. Iconic TSM player, Maple. I know. It's so absurd.
While this is his last tournament, I hope he can take down a few more teams along the way. PSG is really the only team I'm rooting for at this point. The TSM fans would rather root.
Not even NA. You actually hate America, you fucking traitors, you Benedict Arnold fucks. Now you're supporting a team from fucking Taiwan. What the fuck's going on, boys? I love it.
TSM, you'll notice they buried this. So they did. This is why I couldn't find it, Thorin, because they gave a TSM esports quarterly update 2 months ago. As they said, as we were halfway through the year, we wanted to recap the first 6 months and share a bit about our plans for the remainder of 2024. So you'll notice also hilariously, this is called a quarterly update that they are doing halfway through the year. God knows what the fuck is that's supposed to mean. So the next thing is that they do all of these other updates: Apex, CS2, CS Impact, Valorant, Esports World Cup, Leffen, PUBG, Overwatch, Rocket League, and at the very bottom, League of Legends. Last thing, they buried at the very bottom.
Monty, I haven't followed the game yet. You're telling me TSM doesn't have a League of Legends team? They are TSM, bro. They have an Overwatch team.
Yep.
How can this be? How can it be, mate? Remember, think about what Monty. In a way, that's a win for you, because you remember all those dickhead, annoying LOL fans, probably TSM fans, who said, Monty thinks Overwatch will be a bigger game than League. An opinion he never expressed anywhere. That's why none of you have the video. If you had the smoking gun, you'd play that video every day, wouldn't you? And fucking beat off to it. You don't have that. But in the end, TSM has an Overwatch team in 2024, but not a League of Legends team. Oh, that's glorious. Oh, the Schadenfreude is glorious. And the best thing is, Reggie doesn't even know what Schadenfreude is. If I even said it's German, Reggie, he'd go, I've never heard of him. I love the idea to me, Reggie's just a complete moron. I know. I love it.
2 months ago, we're still considering all options to select the best opportunity for TSM. We appreciate your patience, but this decision can't be rushed due to the numerous changes the ecosystem will be going through, of which we've been aware of for some time. That's it.
That's the most. How's that an update? The update is we're still thinking about stuff. We'll get back to you later in another quarter, aka half a year. There's just nothing. There's nothing there, bro. There's literally nothing there. By the way, what do you think right now? If you had to place bets, do they ever return in any, even in another region? Do they ever return to League of Legends? Do you think? What do you think?
No, I don't think they should
what would the point
either.
Be, right? Yeah. What would the point be?
I don't think they should either. Like, I don't, if you just look at the teams that are still in and are still getting, and are the ones who are getting out, it doesn't make sense for them to be really involved in this scene. I mean, maybe they will because they're an esports World Cup partner. They're one of the 30 partner teams, and perhaps they want a chance to participate in League of Legends in that way to get more money out of the Saudi government. But I don't think it really makes a lot of sense for them to be coming back in any region. I think maybe they try and license their name to somebody like we talked about in China, and maybe they can get some money from someone else to use their branding. But I mean, LPL is also struggling right now, guys. The salary cap in China is coming down next year because the teams are not doing well. And the viewership is down. So I don't even know if China is a really good option for them at this point in time. So there you go. And then 8 months ago, they said, we are diligently working towards our goal of acquiring a League of Legends franchise slot in a tier 1 region by the end of 2024. So 8 months ago, they said that. Then 2 months ago, they said, nah, we're not really doing anything.
It's the phrase tier 1 region. It's like, bloody hell. They didn't even say major. Tier 1 is like, what are we playing with semantically here? You know what I mean? Like, is that they're going to have an LLA team or something? You know, we're back in the Americas, but shut the fuck up. They're going to be in the wrong conference, the one without all the LCS
They're going to be in
teams.
VCS. Don't worry.
There you go. Exactly.
They're going to be in the Pacific. Now that the new, as we started talking about this show, the new Pacific region is going to be there, then obviously having a VCS team is technically a tier 1 region, because maybe, you know, they'll get guaranteed slots to at least the play-ins of Worlds and MSI, just like the LCS teams.
I would love to see TSM failing in play-ins, a statement I could have said 10 years ago if they'd have been playing. So I would love to see it today. As long as they lose, I'd like them to come back. That's one thing I actually do miss, Monty. It actually isn't as funny to see 100 Thieves bomb Worlds as it was to see when like TSM went 0-6 and shit. Like,
it was still fun.
That was glorious. The best one still, Monty, is the one where I'd moved to the Netherlands. And everyone remembers this video where instead of just doing the ha 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 tweet, I just did that video of me going, "What a wonderful world." And then like all the like sun was like glittering behind me. And I was like, what a glorious day that was, just walking through the crisp, you know, autumn air or whatever. It was fucking dope, mate. I loved it. That was straight fire.
Any other teams stand out to you from this play-in stage?
I mean, in terms of like things we haven't discussed much, I mean, an obvious angle I'll just bring up immediately is, listen, BLG is a true favourite for the tournament, but it's a BO1 and Mad Lions. You know what, mate? You know the concept of throwing shit at the wall until it sticks? That's their draft philosophy. So all I'm saying is there could be, I want to see full madness. I want to see them embrace the kick. Basically, Monty, chaos is a ladder. I want the Unicorns of Love chaos style draft. Bring it. Bring it.
That's how they beat G2. That's how they beat G2. I think you absolutely should bring it. I mean, Mirwin is still drawing Nidalee bans in play-ins, which I find to be quite interesting. I don't think they have much of a chance, but I do want to acknowledge the fact
Obviously didn't hear the post analysis there. Keep going.
I do want to acknowledge the fact that when Mad Lions was doing very well in winter, a lot of it was powered by engages from Alvaro, and he really did have very good play on stage, and so did Supa. Like I have been one of the big Supa haters, right? But Supa did very well in this play in stage. So if the bot lane, the way they win is weird picks for Mirwin, Frescowi not feeding, and Elyoya, Supa, and Alvaro having good games. Now all of these things were happening pretty well, I think, during the play in stages. Did they have necessarily the toughest road through this bracket? No. Like the fact that they played against Viking Esports, which is probably the second or worst, very worst team in play-ins, whether you want to count SoftBank Hawks in that category or not is up to you. They were both, I think, really underwhelming. But if you look at that, you know, PSG was a tougher opponent, but having the softer first round, I think, did really enable them.
I'll tell you what I would say about this draw when I look at it, and so now I've got like the full sense of what this world is going to be like, is when you consider, I actually think last year's Weibo, even though they miraculously made the final, was a bit of like a sus team. Last year's D+ was way worse than this D+ here. I actually think on paper, now that Scout came for LNG, I think this is the hardest Worlds. This Worlds looks fucking stacked, bro. For the Asian teams are unbelievable. This playoffs could be incredible, mate. It could be really fire.
Yeah, I think looking forward, it is exciting. Like I said, I'm just really worried
You've got
about
GL and Team Liquid. We've got some fucking fire teams here, mate. You could go deep on this one.
I also think, you know, as disappointing as 100 Thieves has been, I think if you are an LCS fan and looking forward, that probably Team Liquid and FlyQuest will still be quite competitive. I mean, I think they are just like good teams coming from LCS, and G2 should be quite competitive as well. There are reasons, I think, to be optimistic about Mad Lions. Like, they're probably not going to get to quarterfinals, but I do think that they've been on the upswing. And if you are a Mad Lions fan and you're looking for all of the upsides to this team, those have been displayed here at Worlds already. So you're probably pretty happy with what's going on.
Even though I'm not arrogant enough to imagine that like famous Korean and Chinese players watch Summoning Insight, especially not before games, I'll just pretend they do. And I've always said one of the things I hate in esports is that so many people are bad at trash talk and don't even attempt it. So I've always said, if you're someone I like, you can reach out to me and I'll work on some lines for you. I'll basically be like when Jay-Z wrote Still DRE, Still Dre for fucking Dr. Dre, and it was a straight fire track. I'll write the sick track. I'll give you the diss track, right? So here's what I want you to do. If you play Team Liquid, you know APA is going to type, isn't he? So here's the line that shuts him down forever. What you do is you pick a game where he types early in the game. Maybe he gets a solo kill or a gank pulled off. And when he types something, right, later in the game, when he starts inting or losing the game or getting shit on, you type into Allsay, into world chat, oh, I see you can use your keyboard then. That is called the fucking... That you will be number one on Reddit, I promise you. If someone does a line like that, you will be a legend in the Western scene. So all I'm saying is, Showmaker, I know you're out there. Fucking, you know, I'm thinking people who might actually do it. You know, fucking Bin. If you questionable, you listen in English, but if you are, hit me up. We can get it done. Is all I'm saying. We can get it done, mate. Obviously, if Faker did it, it would be godlike as well. I can't lie. But listen, I don't imagine Faker's going to start trash talking 11 years deep in his career, personally. I mean, his style of trash talk, isn't he? He doesn't even do that style, man. He does the trash talk where it's like, you know, I'm not sure he's at my level yet. Like, because he actually is like a fucking anime villain. Like, he is just the guy, like, the final boss you have to reach in the anime before you even fight him, you know? So he'd send henchmen after you, first of all.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said earlier, if you guys want to hear a lot about the major region teams, check out our mega preview episode that we did last time. Also to update you on the cadence of things. So if you are unfamiliar with Summoning Insight, we do kind of put an episode into the middle of the actual Swiss stage, because the way Riot runs the Swiss stage is like 4 days on, then a couple days break, then another 4 days on. So they run it like they did the old group system, where there is a break, which is good because it allows the teams to kind of reflect on their strategies and like retool their priorities. So I actually really like that we have the days off in the middle. But as a result, you will be seeing a Summoning Insight episode of us breaking down the first couple of rounds of the Swiss system halfway through. So on those day breaks that you guys are going to be aware of, we will be having episodes of both this show and Power Spike for the main event. So we will be coming out quite quickly with a lot of these. So you can look forward to that. Those 2 days off, I think, are like the 6th and 7th of October.
I forgot to mention something. Do you know who needs a massive shout out? Because it's cross promotion. Do you want to know a hot take from Hot Take Point Made? Zaboutine said 100 Thieves wouldn't make it through planes. That is straight fire. He said it before a single game had been played, by the way. That's actually straight fire, mate.
I mean, it's a hot take, but I think he had the right one, because if you were anticipating that they would regress to the form that they had in most of summer, I think was pretty obvious that there were going to be a lot of teams that were going to be better than them.
Well, then you would have had a lot of betting odds, mate. That's all I'm saying is, where them receipts that Thorin has. He has them. He has all the receipts and all the evidence. It's all good. Also, all I'm going to say is this, Monty. I won't say it again because I actually hate when people ask me, but I'll just say this. Let's just say, because I'll be very careful with it so the smart people can guess, but it'll keep it fun for the others. Let's just say, because circumstances changed with who went to Worlds on team rosters, I might just wait, and during one of those gaps where it's sort of in the middle of Worlds, where there'll be no content on those days, I might just drop the mother of all drama bombs. That's all I'm going to say. I've hinted at in the past. Let's just say I might curate the most evil time to release that video ever, and just say, you know what? I'll be the one getting all the hits for the next 3 days. So let's just say I might do that. That might be fun. You'll have to see what I mean by that, but it'll be glorious, I promise.
Well, if that's the case, then I imagine we'll also be talking about it on this show through Worlds. So basically,
it's a real feature of my career. I had to create drama, which then we can reference and then monetize on our show. It's a sort of a symbiotic relationship. It's not like you thought, Monty,
content flywheel.
Yeah, you might have naively thought something like I was just inting our relationship by causing you negative associations through guilt by association and things you never said and did, and that you were then called out on for a million years by everyone in the industry, even though you just checked notes. Just my mate, did still work with me, you know? Like, okay, but you are responsible for every guy doing say, Monty. We all know that.
I did find it especially funny because, particularly when I was casting, it was like 98% of my work was not with you, and then the 2% that was apparently damned me to hell for all eternity.
Yeah. But you know all what? You do is talk trash about TSM on the internet. It's like, bro, I literally cast every game in LCK. What are you talking about?
I talk trash about TSM for like 20 minutes a week, and then I talk about Korean League of Legends for like 20 hours a week.
Yes.
I do find it, the way that the industry has gone, though, Thorin, means that basically because of the factor of guilt by association, now nothing is worse than the guilt by association with the Saudi Arabian government.
Yep.
So
I love it.
now everyone is just implicated in that.
I did remember, though, I'll just quickly find it here because I actually put a screenshot on Twitter, so I'll be able to find it if I just scroll down a second. Because there was one hilarious thing that actually happened, which is Zaboutine, sadly, still at that point in his career doing content, where he goes back and checks the YouTube comments. So what's great is someone had put in the YouTube comments something stupid like, I think it was something along the lines of like, oh, I remember Zaboutine when he was on Immortals, that shit team, and then he brought Ica over from mid lane. And so then Zaboutine, I can't find it at the moment. He just put he went and replied to that comment and just put something like, yes, and I've seen that ever since I left, they've been lifting lots of trophies or something like a straight fire clapback, like actually like A tier, borderline S tier clapback. Like that's fire. Even though I would say don't read comments, Zaboutine, that is fire. That is fire, mate.
I think you do have to remember that a lot of those coaches that we do think are good, like Zaboutine or Kyoto or some of these guys that were on Immortals, were actually
all of these people.
Yeah, they were actually doing a lot with no money, right?
Oh, no, of course. You have to like a motherfucker.
When you have the lowest budget to work with in the league, it is about performance relative to dollars spent, and a lot of these Immortals rosters, I think, even though they didn't have the best players, they weren't winning titles. They were overperforming compared to other rosters based on a per dollar spent value.
By the way, in my reflections with Kyoto, he even says that when he was on that Immortals roster, and he had some of the people that were like former players of his, like he had like Destiny and fucking Xerxes there and stuff. He even said that in scrims, they were like one of the best teams in NA apparently. And they were like, like the sleeper pick that even people were like bigging up in like interviews and stuff. It's just they couldn't do it on stage for whatever reason. So no, as usual, if you're on a bad team as a coach, for fuck's sake, coach, you don't even get to click anything and do something in the game. You get told that you're a bomb because your players fucking just do stupid shit. Like, give me a break. Give me a break, man.
That's why I never wanted to go back to coaching in League of Legends. I mean, at least in Counter-Strike, you can take a timeout or you can talk to your players in between rounds.
Here's a perfect segue. Before we end, there was one thing that did trigger the fuck out of me, Monty. On the Esports Awards, because they had Faker nominated, are you ready? This is insane, bro. There were some top CS coaches weren't nominated. They nominated kkOma. kkOma wasn't there last year when they won Worlds, guys. He was only there for this year where they checked notes, came second in LCK, bombed MSI for them, won EWC that no one gives a fuck about, and came third in LCK. And he was nominated for Coach of the Year in all of esports. For what? For what? Remember, it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award, which, by the way, he would deserve. It's a fucking Coach of the Year. What are you doing, my dude? That's mental. That is actually mental. That's insane. And imagine, the obvious angle to point at this, I've no doubt there's some insane LPL coach didn't get nominated as a result, because kkOma got nominated instead. So brilliant. Good job. Good job.
Or Spawn, who actually probably, relative to the pieces that Team Liquid has access to. Like, I think Spawn has done an amazing job.
I agree with you, but are you actually entering your own independent attempt at hot take point made by saying the sentence, Spawn is a better coach than kkOma? That's the title of the episode. Put it in there. It'll be a brilliant off at the end, but that's actually Monty's take. His take.
There's my hot take.
It just sounds fair on paper, doesn't it? When you put it on paper, it just looks fancy as fuck, doesn't it? I know.
Yeah, look, in the year of our Lord, 2024, this year, Spawn might actually be a better coach than kkOma. Because look, kkOma's had problems adapting to the meta. Sure. Why can't he teach Faker? Here's a real take. Why can't kkOma teach Faker, the greatest player of all time, to play Yone? What's wrong with kkOma? Because, guys, T1 fans, you must admit there either must be something wrong with kkOma or Faker. Either kkOma is inhibiting Faker's greatness, which is a claim that Thorin has made in the past, or, or Faker's not good anymore. You pick which one of these things it is. You pick which one it is.
By the way, what's great about that take is, like the person I am. So I'm now editing that word out of my own language, so you don't have to keep editing. Whatever, we'll see if I can get past that, right? Basically, I've got to enjoy both sides of that take. So I upset people when I made the take, because I was saying about kkOma when he like won worlds and all shit like that, you know, and he was like an LCK champion multiple times. But then I also get to enjoy it on the opposite side, because do you know what my favourite detail about that is? When all those Faker fans start talking big about his prime, I go, what are you talking about? He didn't even play in the LCK Spring Finals of 2015. They didn't need him. They had Easy Hoon. I get to do that and then go, and he lost MSI, even though I agree, I think it's bullshit. He didn't play all 5 games, but he did lose MSI. So I get to even be the shit eater later who uses both sides of that narrative. Straight fight, I love it.
But here's the question. Did Faker lose MSI or did Easy Hoon? Because Easy Hoon lost more games in that MSI final than Faker did.
Well, that means if kkOma's the greatest coach, he made the decision, Monty. He made the executive decision to remove Faker. He decided, Monty, his chances to win were better without Faker, their supposed GOAT in his prime. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, I'll trust kkOma in this one isolated case, even though I didn't trust him earlier when he said that and did a video saying it was completely wrong. I actually still think my reason was way better than people realize. I'll actually tell you the real reason. The real reason wasn't a shit-taking hot take. It was that I made the point, right? Imagine if they did that on like Michael Jordan's Bulls, bro. Imagine if they could have like beaten some like low-level team without playing Michael Jordan. So we just didn't get to see Michael Jordan play as many games. Like we want to see him play as many games as possible. He's Michael Jordan. So when you're in your peak, we want to see you play all the games, bro. We want to see you smurf on him. We don't want to go, I don't need to use him though. We can just put like Scottie Pippen in. Like, why are you putting Easy Hoon in? Whatever. Anyway, I'm still not quite over that 9 years later, but it's all good. It's all
also, good. Another part of my hot take here, Thorin, is that maybe kkOma was never a good coach because the reason why Faker couldn't play in that finals was because he wasn't a good Azir player. And yet after kkOma stopped coaching Faker, Faker's most played champion of all time became Azir, and he made some of his most iconic plays on Azir. So perhaps kkOma is just incapable of teaching Faker champions that Faker needs to play in a given meta.
And I will just say, I've said it before, but it's who I am. kkOma has now twice since joined teams that have won Worlds and then won dick all with them. So when he joined with Dan 1, they won LCK, but they lost MSI and they lost Worlds. I'm not hating. I'm just sort of secretly pretending not to hate while I hate while using facts. So that did happen, though. First of all, he's a ring chaser. I hate that. And also that's a good line because he also got married in real life with a ring. So there's that angle too. In fact, the joke is that's the last ring he gave to anyone, was the one he gave to his wife. That's not bad, actually. Someone worked that in there. That was decent. It's a good note to end on. The last ring he gave anyone was that one he gave to his wife. There you go.
I do enjoy that the end of this show has just become a kkOma trashing segment.
Well, at the end, we just filled the bingo card up. We did like, I alluded to a certain player I always reference. Oh, I've given it away now. And we referenced Reginald. I even said the TSM 2014, TSM going out of Worlds. We did Bwipo. We did it all. We did it. At the end, we just hit the full bingo card. So it's all good. I'll just end by saying something like, I don't know, I think Chovy was better than Faker for a few years, and Rookie's just a better player overall. There we go. We ended the whole card, right? The comments are full. We've got all the engagement. We've farmed all the plebs. End the show, I guess. Yeah,
now we can just put Faker and kkOma in the thumbnail of this video and say this is why they're trash, and then we'll farm all the clicks too. Because that's the new thing. So guys, I don't know if you know this, but we brought on
thumbnail. Don't put in 2024 Spawn is better than kkOma. The title goes Spawn is over kkOma, and then everyone in the chat will be like, hey, he's won all the world championships and they'll go mental about totally the wrong point without ever watching the video. So just put Spawn greater than kkOma in the title, and you have ganged it. At that point, it's over, mate. They're wrecked. They're done. That would be the flame that the moth must go towards, but must go to its destruction.
But by the way, I mean, I'm sure you guys have noticed, like in the last few months, our thumbnails have been massively upgraded. Also, special shout out to our thumbnail artist for Foreplay, who like integrates us into the movies posters, because those things look fucking amazing. But if you guys haven't noticed, so the funny thing though is that I have nothing to do with these thumbnails, and neither like we just kind of let the YouTube manager decide on the thumbnails, that he does like the A/B testing and analysis of it. So people have been getting mad because we have like Faker in a bunch of these thumbnails, but all I'm just saying is you motherfuckers click on it, so it's not our fault. the faker keeps showing up because that's what works, I guess. So just like people claiming that they don't like us farming for engagement, and yet these are the choices that you guys make, and this is apparently what you want to see on this show. and we have A/B tests to prove it. But anyway, yes, quite funny. Hope you guys have been enjoying the upgrades to the channel and the new thumbnails. Some of you get very mad about the faker and the drama associated with it, but you know, that's what Riot does too, is they're just going to farm the shit out of T1 and faker. Oh, we didn't even talk, Thorin, we didn't even talk about the world's theme song this year.
Oh, true. Because here's the problem with that is I notice a lot of people, I mean, it's the same every year. I don't know why I'm even surprised. Everyone always just loves it, don't they? And always big it up. But I have to say, listen, I won't claim, like, I do like new metal music. It's always been my guilty pleasure, I've told you. I've never claimed it's good. I just like it. But I was never like a massive Linkin Park fan, but I did think the first couple of albums, because they're so iconic for Counter-Strike movies, the first couple were pretty good, and they had some really classic tracks you can remember. What I don't get is, one, I'm just going to say it straight up, like, part of Linkin Park, yeah, it was the beats of the Shinoda guys, but it was also that guy's voice. So to me, I think personally, aside from I understand the commercial reasons, I think it's a bit gross to sort of like make the band without him. It's like, is that Linkin Park without him? Isn't that really just Mike Shinoda featuring someone else doing sort of an impression of Chester Bennington, who sounds a bit like him, and then he's even done all the walk watches like "And She's a Woman." It's like, okay, brilliant, all right. And then also, I think that song sounds like a bad fanfic of Linkin Park, because even Shinoda's rapping is like a bad version of like the first albums, like so it's same style, like. Well, what's the game? Remember my name. And also, the thing about that video is fucking hilarious, mate. Where it's true. You know, even Deft said it. Everyone looks like Deft, including Bin. Even Bin looks like a Nintendo 64 rendering of Deft. And the joke is like, hey, there's Deft. By the way, it's like that famous joke. Do you remember the one that was like on Family Guy, where there's a racist joke that Peter Griffin does, where he walks through Chinatown and he goes, "There's Jackie Chan, there's Jackie Chan. Oh my God, Jackie Chan, Jackie." That's what they did with Deft. Whoever the artists were like, here's Deft on a horse. Here's Deft. What we're doing? What is this? This is mental.
Yeah. So I will say, guys, in the past, when bands have changed like this, they at least had the decency to change their fucking name when they did it. Like Velvet Revolver changed their name from Guns N' Roses when they changed the lead singer. I mean, AC/DC didn't, but that was slightly a different situation, I would say. And also, at least when they changed singers, AC/DC made heavy references with their Back in Black album to the fact that they had a new singer and like had a new identity. Right. So in any case, though, a lot of bands actually do just like shift their name. Audio Slave would be another one, obviously, right? Because that was what Rage Against the Machine when they brought in Chris Cornell. So in any case, there are precedents. Changing the name probably was the best idea. I'm not really into their new sound compared to their old sound. I was never a big fan, but now I'm even less of a fan.
It sounds very generic, mate.
It sounds very generic. I can understand why Riot wanted to use Linkin Park for this, though, because the new singer is part of Scientology, and there's nothing Riot loves more than weird-ass cults.
I mean, the joke is, Monty, I even thought about doing this as a tweet, but the joke is, are you ready? I think we found my limit. It's not that I'm scared of Riot. I am just sort of scared of the other entity. So I was going to do a joke on Twitter that would be like, what the hell? You mean some weird cults involved with League of Legends? That's like really sinister in how they treat its members. You can never leave, and they'll ruin your life if you do anything against them. But enough about Riot Games. These people in partner, you know, I was gonna do the old switcheroo at the end, but I'm mildly worried. You know what? I'd rather not have a little clip that gets sent to those people. And I just love Mission Impossible. That's a joke. So, whatever, maybe I should have said Top Gun. I should have gone that maybe. Because that's true.
So yeah, in any case, like I wasn't too into it. And then the music video, I did. So I wasn't a fan. Like I don't give a shit about K-pop, to be clear, but I did like the Gods music video last year as like the journey of Deft. And I think that there was a real opportunity with this new music, with this new song, to show kind of like the return of Faker. By the way, somebody pointed this out to me and I couldn't get it out of my head, which is that basically the Flashpoint 3 intro is basically the same concept of this as like we had Astralis in the castle in, you know, the intro that that we made for Flashpoint, where everyone was doing all the other teams were doing the siege on the castle. So they literally just ripped off my concept.
No, Monty, that no one associated with, working for, or on a broadcast for Riot Games esports would ever take a concept MonteCristo pioneered and then just shamelessly rip it off. That I know
it was shocking that it was the same concept. Also, because we used Bring Me the Horizon, but we used a much better song than this one. I actually think that song's a banger that we used, which is a song, you know. It's weird. It's like they used a song called Heavy as a Crown. I used a song called Kingslayer. Interesting.
Also, even though, like, you know what's funny? Even though people got mad at how much fake is in it, one, if you have an all-time great player still playing, you have to put him in it. And then two, even though I obviously think this year he's a bit washed, mate, he did win Worlds. Like, it is fair for the Worlds team for him to, it's okay to do that. I think people went too far on that one. You know?
So to go back, like, what I liked about Gods was it actually showed, like, Def's battles throughout the years versus his various opponents. It told a story of esports in the same way that even though the song Rise is absolute dog shit, the music video with Ambition for Rise is super cool because it tells the story of, you know, Samsung's victory at Worlds. I think this was a massive missed opportunity to actually focus on the story of T1 and Faker's return to the championship, because ultimately this was what was weird to me, Thorin, is that this wasn't about, you know, if Faker had, you know, gone on a three-peat of the title and had been holding this crown for a long time, then the theme of, you know, taking the throne away, I think would be more valuable. But really, this was Faker kind of lost in the wilderness for many years since his last title. And for me, the real storyline here is not that Faker is the king from which you are taking the crown. It's Faker reascending, you know, to the crown. And I would have rather have seen that story about the return to Faker's glory rather than him being the kind of like king that's sitting in the castle. That's my personal take on this. I don't think that narratively it really lines up with what was going on. I think if you contrast that to what I was trying to do with Flashpoint 3, which was that Astralis had been the dominant team for a number of years. And so that's why they were in the castle on the throne already. So I think it was and, you know, Device had just left the team and blah, 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 blah. There was a lot more to work with and with that theme in that particular case. But this one, I think, left me like really kind of disappointed. Not only that, but the visuals, like you say, were not particularly good for the players. I don't think it told as much of a story by any stretch of the imagination as previous Worlds like music videos had done. And also, like, it was a lot of Linkin Park.
The best one, I still think, was the one where it had people as their champions making plays. Even though I don't like the champion part, that was, you know, one with like the odd one and Ambition. That was cool when they had that one where they all made the. What year was that? Someone remember which one I'm talking about? I don't know.
It's a long time ago, but yeah.
What's the one where it was like an animated cartoon of like them doing as the champion that they were? Like someone was Kazakhs and someone was, you know, what am I talking about? Someone must know.
It was
someone
like
in the chat must know.
2014. It was 2013 or 2014, I think.
Ignite, someone says. Is that true?
Okay.
Ignite, that could be it. That video was interesting as a concept, at least. It was people doing iconic players that they did do. That was interesting.
Yeah. And this one also just was very heavy on the Linkin Park, whereas like, you know, in Rise and Gods, which I think are the best narrative ones that we've seen, there wasn't an emphasis on the band. Like, it wasn't about New Jeans, or it wasn't about whatever. Rise, I think, was an internal Riot thing, but it wasn't about the singer of that song that they got. So for me, it was just really jarring, because even in Star Walkin', it wasn't as blatant with Lil Nas X. So I don't know. I felt
the joke was this was a Linkin Park video featuring some League of Legends, as opposed to a League of Legends video featuring Linkin Park. It really was, wasn't it? I know.
Right. And the other thing, Thorin, is like, this was released. I could understand that if this was released on Linkin Park's channels, but this was released on Riot's channel. So you can really do whatever you want with it, right? It wasn't like the official Linkin Park music video, as far as I'm aware. So I don't know. I think you could definitely do something differently with this than was done. So I found it to be pretty underwhelming, frankly, because like,
I've also got another suggestion. It's going to really blow your mind. It's like I've like innovated the whole media field if you're already in League of Legends. Crazy idea, Monty. As well as a music video with like interesting elements, why not make a hype trailer featuring some of the best players of the year? I know it's a crazy fucking concept. It's so out there that no one will ever do it, but it's never been done as far as I can tell. Why not just have like the best players that all the great stars on the teams made this year in like a mega hype montage? Why can't we have the game ever be featured? It's always like the weird lore of the game. It's never actually like the players of the players. Like, bro, if I was making a thing to hype, like, remember in this scenario, trophy facing night now is like Ronaldo and Messi at their peaks playing. I think I would hype you by showing their best goals, mate, maybe against each other even, and show how insane the stakes are. I wouldn't just go like some weird like thing where like Messi's like, in like a Mexican standoff with him, and it's like, it's like some weird like, why would I do any of that? I'd just stick with the game, mate. They're already making sick players. Just show me some trophies, show me some aiming, show me some fucking Jackie Love, show me anything. By the way, show me anything even sounds like it could be a tagline for a future world. There's another thing, Monty, the whack-ass tagline, make them believe. Well, you know what? I'm just going to say, Monty, if you were associated with a cult, having the tagline, make them believe.
It's better than become the unknown. It's already better.
That's true. That is. My favorite one ever was that thing where on the side it would just say take notes, because there is a famous, like, I think it's like Notorious B.I.G. that's like take notes and of something like take notes and take talks of the marijuana smoke is the actual iconic line. So that's all I would think every time I saw take notes. And by the way, my actual real favorite, I'll tell you, I will never ever get past this. My favorite is the weird English language taglines the LPL teams used to use for themselves. Because there was one of them for real, Monty. I think it was either WE or LGD. The tagline was like, keep your dreams, which they obviously just scoffed. They meant like, like embrace your dreams. But that makes it sound like you're going to be disappointed by them, like just keep your dreams, you dickhead, and like as though they're going to end the whole thing. So that was an amazing line right there. I loved all the Chinese ones, because I told you before, I've always had like that's my kink, is going into like a Korean chicken hof and then seeing that thing on the wall where they've just put random quotes in English but it means nothing. And I went to one and it was just like, there is a little house that makes chicken lovely, and I was like, what even is that? It's like the word salad. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't I'm English, that doesn't even mean anything. Why is that cool? Because essentially it's the equivalent, if you don't know, guys, of the idiot in the West who has like a weird like Japanese thing on his arm he's never translated and he just thinks it looks cool. Like that's what they were just doing then. I love it though. It's so whack, but it's silly at the same time. Make them believe. Make them believe.
All right, guys. I think that'll just about do it for us for this week. We are not doing viewer questions this time around. Number one, because it's 11 p.m. at night for me, and I am incredibly jet lagged. And number two is because I also have to do Power Spike on this channel in like an hour. So I need to take a break, guys. And so sorry about no viewer questions. We will get to them on subsequent shows. We did all of them the last time we did them. Obviously, we don't do them on the Mega Worlds previews. Also, this is probably important for you to know if you are a Discord subscriber for us. People have we've opened a new channel for you to submit your hot takes to Hot Take Point Made League of Legends edition. Are you going to be doing that for the Counter-Strike edition as well?
Probably not. The reason I thought for League I might do it is because actually the League guys asked me, can we set that up basically, like as in the other people in that chat. For CS, we don't need it. We can generate our own. But what we thought would be cool was, a bit like on 4Play, we have Roger Ebert's opinion. Maybe we'll take like a fan one if it's really crazy, and we'll debate it and see if we agree with it, and then the fans can have a random hot take. Yeah, I think for League, it's a good wrinkle. I like it. It's not bad.
So if you guys would, we're trying to... And also when we finish Worlds, guys, and I have some time to think again, we are going to be reevaluating, the rewards for you guys who do this, because we think we can do more. So be aware that is coming. But in the current time, we are trying. Thorin did come up with a cool idea, and you guys asked for it, to be able to submit your hot takes to Hot Take Point Made League. So if you do have some, and there were some actually, I looked in that channel and there were some really funny ones. So I think there are some good options in there. You guys are pretty good at coming up with this stuff. So if you would like the opportunity to submit your hot takes, in addition to asking questions on this show, there is now that option for you as well. So thank you to our Discord subscribers. We will get back around to your questions. Anyway, guys, as I said, You can look for us on Summoning Insight and on Power Spike in between the 2 phases of the Swiss stage. So you can catch up on all our thoughts from the first Swiss stage and then preview the second one. Then we will be doing another show of both of those after the second Swiss stage, before quarterfinals, and then obviously before semis, before finals, and then after finals as well, in which case we'll end the season for Power Spike. Summoning Insight will be going on during the off season, guys. We'll return to some historical content. So look forward to us there. We will see you guys in just a few days.